What's going on, guys? Welcome back to #AskGSM here today, episode 604 for Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. Graham GSM Matthews here with a surprise guest. You may have seen her on the show before. Alexis is back here on the show. Welcome back to #AskGSM. What's going on?
Hi.
She's going to be helping me answer questions here today on a very, very, very hot Tuesday here in the Northeast.
Yes.
Curious if, I don't think Mike is here live at the moment, but I'm curious how hot it is elsewhere in the country and the world right now. So let me know if it's just exclusive to where we are or if it's, happening all over the place here in the country. Like down south in Texas, I can only imagine. If it is also experiencing heat wave right now, I can only imagine it's as, obviously not even as hot. It would be significantly hotter than it is here. Probably in like the hundreds, because today it's here in like the fucking 90s, 95, something like that.
It's supposed to be 100 today.
Yeah, so I'm sure elsewhere down south here in the U.S. anyway, it's going to be even hotter. So I hope you guys are doing well, staying cool. Thanks for tuning in and joining in on the show. Usually Alexis is my tech person, making sure that we're live and everything's operating smoothly. Since she's here, doesn't work the same way today. So if you have any issues as far as you can't hear us properly or the stream isn't working, because I know there was an instance a week or two ago where I was live and it didn't record for the first 40 minutes. Don't know why. A couple of weeks back, it was muted for the first 10 minutes. I know that's not an issue now looking at the mic, so hopefully we are, it's smooth sailing from this point forward. So if you have any issues technology-wise, audio-wise, please let me know. I'll address it while we're live here. But a few housekeeping notes before we get going with the chats and whatnot and the questions, of course. Just want to mention a few things, that being the channel membership shout-outs. That being Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, still sitting here to my left, of course. Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve1. Follow him on the IG at Swerve1, WON. Daniel Malcolm, find him on X at I'm Quarter on X. Mr. Marceau himself at RJ_Marceau. John Ritland, subscribe to him on YouTube. Real Honesty with John Ritland. Richie, who I can see here in the chat, is joining us. Find him on YouTube as well, Red Planet Wrestling. And last but not least, Average Grunt, at The Average Grunt on Twitter. Follow him there. If you want to sign up for a WrestleRant All Access Pass, you can do so. Consider please doing so. $5 a month gets you shout-outs at the beginning and end of every live stream that we do here on the channel. You also get certain videos ad-free and early access to throughout the week. You also get badges and emojis here in the live chats for live streams like this one. Top billing on shows like #AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio. So, for example, Average Grunt taking advantage of that, sending in a question to the show a little bit earlier on today, last night it might have been. But because he did that, he gets his question answered first before anyone else's of the scheduled questions that were sent in. He also did that with WrestleRant Radio last week. He actually asked me to do a AEW Grand Slam Dynamite Mexico review on the show, and I spent 10-15 minutes reviewing what I thought was a very fun show from Dynamite last week. So consider signing up for that. More information in the description box down below, and also by just simply clicking the join button at the top of this video if you are watching on PC. But at the very least, if you want to support the channel, support the show, if you are watching live or after the fact, hit the thumbs up button, like the video, subscribe, and also hit the bell button to be notified every single time I'm live here on the channel and every single time new content goes up. So I think that's it. Let's address the chat. I say real quickly, but I spend like 45 minutes to an hour talking to the chat before we get any scheduled questions. But I also have to tweet out the link to the show real quick, so let me just do that real quick. There we go. Had that ready to post. All right. Thanks to everyone joining live, of course, as always. Much appreciated. Johnny said before we got going live here saying yes, yes, yes in reference to the title of the video. Should WWE have canceled the Night of Champions pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia this weekend? We'll get into that. Got a question about that, of course. Very timely. Fernando said, Buenos dias, WrestleRant. Fernando, hope you're doing well. He also said, WWE should not put talent and employees in danger. I don't want to hear that played-out excuse that WWE is a business. These are wrestlers, not firemen and police officers. Maria, what's going on? Thanks for joining. She said, WWE should have totally canceled Night of Champions. I don't want to hear that WWE is a business. That is a weak argument that people, we are talking about people's lives here, I think is what she meant to say. Johnny said, the quote, the show must go on, is obsolete. Not according to Vince McMahon, and that's also I'm saying this, not the chat, not the comment, but even though Vince isn't there, I think that's a mantra. Maybe not in this specific case, although it is happening. I think that's a mantra that still goes on in the culture of this company and just the business as a whole. Anyway, Johnny said, would you care for Anna Jay and Ty Mello versus Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford for the inaugural women's tag titles at All In? No, I would not. I know it's a logical feud. I know they've been doing that feud now for a few weeks. They've been doing Anna Jay and at one point Harley Cameron versus Bayne and Ford dating back a few months. That doesn't interest me at all. I saw the report from, I think, Cultaholic. I think they aggregated it from somewhere else. But AEW, I guess, is reportedly either creating or has created belts for AEW women's tag team titles. So, I mean, that's been rumored for a while now. He was asked about it, didn't deny it, didn't confirm it. At a press conference did Tony Khan. I think that idea is fucking terrible. They don't really have much of a women's tag team division. They barely use the women that they have currently on their shows.
Yeah, that just sounds like a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't really... And I don't want to say women's tag team wrestling doesn't work, but if it hasn't worked for WWE, and even in TNA, who utilizes their women's tag titles a lot better than WWE, and probably soon to be AEW, if even those championships and the stories surrounding them aren't all that interesting, then I wouldn't really put a whole lot of stock in another women's championship. I mean, they have multiple titles already in Ring of Honor. They have the TBS Championship and the AEW Women's World Championship. Why don't you focus more on those belts, which they do. Mercedes is great and Toni Storm is great and they're currently feuding, but instead of having Mercedes collect all the championships, why don't you spread some wealth around a little bit and focus on that title and give more women an opportunity to challenge for that championship, which they really haven't done a whole lot of as of late. Or, what a concept here, they could tell stories outside of championships. I mean, they could do that with the men as well, and they do. But with the women and AEW and WWE, for whatever reason, it's like a foreign concept.
Yeah, exactly.
So, we've spoke about that before, but I don't like the idea of them even having women's tag team titles because I can guarantee you that beyond the initial, introduction of the championships, you will never see them defended or represented on the show itself, that being Dynamite. Fernando said, we are going to soon find out how cold-hearted TKO is. He also said, Johnny, AEW has a better choice of women to pair up to crown tag team champions. They do, because WWE had some very good women's tag teams, some very talented teams, and every time a team either peaks or doesn't really get utilized the way that they should have, or should, they get released. I mean, Kitana, Chance, and Kaden Carter, on their own, probably didn't have bright futures in that company as far as the chances of them, like, they didn't have very high ceilings on their own, but they were a great team. They already held the tag titles. Very talented, very innovative offense. WWE felt like they did everything they could possibly do with them, because if they thought that the tag titles for the women were a priority, they wouldn't have fucking fired them. Richie, what's going on, brother? He said the greatest power couple in pro wrestling are back. Richie, what's going on, my man? Hope you're doing well. Saying howdy, chat. Let's go. Fernando also said hello, Alexis. Johnny said the Connecticut power couple. Don't tell Triple H and Stephanie that. Johnny said it's hot in New York City. Oh, I'm sure it is. I mean, New York City isn't far from us. I'm talking like Georgia, Texas, If anyone joins in from those states, let me know how hot it is there. Let's see. Maria said, I'm cooking eggs on the street out here. Well, hope those eggs are good. Please save me one. Millennial Noob, what's going on, brother? He said, good morning, Graham. How you doing today? I'm doing well. I appreciate it. Johnny said, AI was messing with your YouTube? AI or Al? I assume he means AI, because that I could either be an L or an I. I don't know who Al is, but yeah, AI, I hope not. AI sucks, but that doesn't stop you from using it, so we'll leave that one there.
I love AI.
Johnny,
well, to an extent.
Johnny said, I think Mina might be the one to dethrone Monet for the TBS title. She could. I don't know when that happens, but it might not be soon. Fernando said, it's so hot, I saw a bird blow a bird. What the fuck? I saw a bird blow on a bird before feeding its baby. Oh, whoa. Okay, blow on a bird. I left out a specific word.
It's so hot, I saw a bird blow on a bird before feeding it to its baby. Ah, what?
I don't know. Well, blowing on a bird. Not... The on is a very important word there.
But before feeding it to its baby. Are these birds cannibals?
I guess they are. I was thinking like worms, but yeah, interesting.
I think I know what he means.
That's more interesting.
The mama bird was blowing on baby bird before they fed the baby.
Yeah, not with another bird.
Yeah.
Although that's what it reads as. I think that's far more interesting than anything I'm going to talk about today. Eric, what's going on, man? He says, hi, how are y'all? Doing well, thank you, Eric. Eric also said, is the J-Ud hate becoming forced? To a certain extent it is, in the sense that Fernando said he meant a worm. So, just to clarify, thankfully. That was a Not a great visual to have. But no, I don't think the Jey Uso hate is forced. I mean, it is forced and it's not forced. I mean, some people just don't like Jey Uso, and I'm not going to say that it's forced just if you genuinely don't like the guy or his push. That's totally fine. Some people complain about the limited moveset and the limited mic skills, all of which are accurate. I mean, it was kind of forced after he won the Rumble because it's like, all right, people were cheering for this guy for so long, and you complain about not the guy not getting pushed, and then the narrative becomes, oh, well, he's getting over pushed. Like, it can't be both at the same time. People like to just complain about something. So, in a certain degree, it is. I would say usually, overall, it's probably not too forced. Eric also said it's about to be 90. It's 11:40. 11:40. Oh,
They're probably Central Time.
yeah, Central Time. Yeah. So
Gross.
you're probably in the Central Time zone, and it's still just as hot there as it is here. Richard,
Johnny meant AI. Interesting.
AI's messing with my YouTube.
I know. I need to know how. Is this a joke, or are you being like legit? And if so, how?
Well, I mean,
Oh, wait. I
What?
think he's making a joke because of how the stream was messed up last week.
Oh, maybe that's
totally what he
yeah,
meant.
yeah, maybe.
I
I mean,
feel like.
you also, on a serious note, though, sometimes don't get notified when the streams go live.
I know. I don't know if anyone else gets that, but I don't get a notification sometimes.
That happens with other people that I've been subscribed to, and they've said the same thing. It's not a me issue. I think it's an algorithm issue, a YouTube. He said
Okay,
joke.
yeah, he's joking.
He said joking.
Johnny,
take everything
I'm
too
a little
seriously.
late to the party. It's okay. I'm working at the same time, so.
We're all working here. Yeah, I think the algorithm kind of messes up with it sometimes, and sometimes people don't get notified. I've gotten that before, as far as people not getting notified when I go live. They see it after the fact. They missed it. So that's not exclusive to me. That happens sometimes. Yeah, Fernando said that happens to me as well. Richie said, going back a bit here, women's tag titles to get added to 4-hour AEW pay-per-view sounds sick. I love nothing more than an already lengthy show becoming longer. Thanks, Tony.
The exclamation. Thanks, Tony.
Gotta give like a thumbs up or a smiley face too. That is a satire comment that I understood.
Yes.
Richie does a very good job with that. No, I agree. The lengthy pay-per-views are tough to sit through. I will say this. I think there's a happy medium because people complain. Personally, I would rather have a shorter show than a longer show. But people still complain, and understandably so, because especially if you buy the show or you pay to be there, of having a 5-match card in WWE. So I think there's a happy medium between having a 5-match card and a fucking 10-match card. And a 4-hour show, 4.5-hour show, and a 2.5-hour show. Why not just what pay-per-views always were, for the most part, a standard 3-hour show with 6 or 7 matches. I think Night of Champions this week, although it's not so Night of Champions because there's only 2 titles being defended. I'm old enough to remember, Pepperidge Farms remembers, when every match in a Night of Champions show back in the day was a championship match. And now it's they have 2 title matches on Sunday and 3 matches defended for championships on SmackDown the night before. Literally, SmackDown the night before is more of a Night of Champions than the pay-per-view itself the next night. Then just call it at that point King and Queen of the Ring. It's fucking dumb. But anyway, at least they have a 6-match card. I did not know this until after Raw ended, but I saw that they announced, obviously, Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross, which is great. They announced it for the pay-per-view. It's not happening on Raw. It's happening this weekend, replacing Dominic and AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship. So I like that a lot. Eric asked, how was the birthday party? It was great, organized by the person to my left over here. I know you asked about that a week or two ago, but yes, it was great. We enjoyed Disney as well that weekend. Johnny said, question for you both. Do you want an all-women's wrestling company in America? Either a subsidiary of WWE, AEW, or another company. I mean, that keyword is America because it's not as if there aren't, all women's companies as it is. And I think you mean on a major platform because there are all women's wrestling companies, even in America now, like Shimmer, I think, is an all women's company. Some Japanese companies and stuff like that where, a lot of the talent in WWE and EO, or, EO Sky's among them, among other talent that came from the all women promotions in Japan. I mentioned Shimmer. I think Shimmer I think that's an American thing, but the company's over in Japan. I forgot the name of it. Stardom. That's what I was trying to say. Stardom. That's where Mina Shirakawa came from, among others, Mariah May. But in WWE, AEW, I'm just not convinced Tony Khan, even more so than WWE, doesn't know how to book women's wrestling properly consistently, because he's had some amazing storylines and some amazing women's matches, but consistently, I don't think he sees the women as a priority as much as he does the men. Now, WWE has their flaws as well, I think the best booker, quote unquote, of women's wrestling in America consistently, and it might be just because it's a smaller platform with only 2 hours, is Shawn Michaels in NXT. I mean, the women dominate the show every single fucking week. I think last week, it felt like the women took up like 75% of the show. And it didn't feel forced, didn't feel inorganic. It felt genuine. And they made the most of the television time. And they have a great women's roster, even with all the call-ups they've had to Raw and SmackDown as of late. So I think, I'm not going to say no, outright no. It's not something that interests me. Not because it's an all-women show, but just because, like, Evolution itself I think is a great concept, but I just don't have enough faith in the major companies like WWE and AEW to do it properly. But I think on paper, if they were to find someone that could prioritize an all-women show, do it properly, write great storylines, book great matches with a great talent, I think it could work. Although NXT basically is what you're talking about right now, although it's not an all-women show, it's the closest thing to that if you watch the show on Tuesday nights. So, posing that question to you, Alexis, would an all-women's wrestling company in America work, or would you be interested in it?
I'm absolutely interested in that, and I think that would be a cool idea. Like, imagine what stories they could tell if they didn't have to worry about the men's division. Like, it's very, and there's so much to work with. Like, how that would work, I don't know. The way I interpreted it is that this would be a totally different company. This is not like a subset of one of the bigger companies. So if it was a totally different company, they have, like, it's a complete, like, open blank canvas to start from. So I think that would be really exciting if they had enough funding for it. And they had they had, like, the right people in charge of it. If they had a really good foundation and the effort was there, then absolutely, hands down, I would love that.
Yeah, I think that could work. How would we crown women's tag team titles? I mean, in AEW, I mean, it would just be the match that was mentioned before. How the fuck can you have a tournament when you don't really have any real women's tag teams? I mean, there's a few. In addition to the teams that you mentioned, there's also Athena and Billy Starks, who are largely exclusive to Ring of Honor, but that is a team. I'm kind of drawing a blank here as far as other actual women's tag teams in the company. So you would have to create teams, and I just don't have enough faith in AEW to make that work. So it would probably, if they are to crown AEW World Tag Team Champions for the women, it would just by doing Ty Mello and Anna Jay versus Ford and Megan Bayne, probably at All In. Let's see. Eric, yeah, you also mentioned we have WOW, Women of Wrestling. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that's another all-women's promotion. But the thing is, that's not on a big platform. Like, I get emails about it all the time, and I think they do have some talented women. I think Nikita Lyons was actually on that show at one point, many years ago, among others. I know Tessa Blanchard was on it, I think, a long time ago, and then she got fired, and she got herself canceled again. What else is new? But, yeah, I mean, like, on a major platform, I think women's wrestling, I haven't watched it, so I can't really speak to its quality. But, like, on a bigger platform, I think really is what is needed. In addition to actual storylines and not just matches. Johnny said, Night of Champions should have been named Night of Royalty. I mean, like I said, you could have just called it King and Queen of the Ring. That's what it was last year. What I don't understand is that if you go back for the last couple of years, in Saudi Arabia, it wasn't called King of the Ring 4 years ago. It was Crown Jewel. They've had Crown Jewel since then. So, but that was in 2021. In 2022, I think it was also Crown Jewel. But in 2023, I mentioned 2021 because that was when they did King and Queen of the Ring finals in Saudi Arabia in late 2021. In 2023, this Saudi spot for the pay-per-view was called Night of Champions. It was supposed to be King of the Ring, King and Queen of the Ring. But then they changed it to Night of Champions and did not do King and Queen of the Ring that year. It was never explained why. Storyline direction must have changed, whatever. That was the year that they did Roman Reigns and Solo versus Owens and Zayn for the tag titles in the main event. That was where the Usos, or at least Jimmy, turned on Roman Reigns. But then the following year, for that exact same pay-per-view, they changed it to King and Queen of the Ring because they brought back the tournaments. So it was called King and Queen of the Ring. This year, because they called it Night of Champions again, as it was 2 years ago, I'm thinking, okay, they're not doing the tournaments. But then they fucking announced the tournaments like 3 weeks ago, and that they've had to rush to really get it done. So it makes no sense. And also, again, if it's not an actual Night of Champions, just call it Crown Jewel, because I don't think they're doing Crown Jewel this year, because they have the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. Saudis getting all the shows. they're doing the Rumble there in January, so I don't think they're doing another Saudi show in fucking November. I think that November show is now the Rumble in January or February, whatever it is next year. So why not just call this Crown Jewel? If it's not a real Night of Champions, then either call it King and Queen of the Ring or Crown Jewel. I know it's nitpicking, but it still annoys me. And cheap plug for WrestleRant ranks this past week. Yesterday, check it out. I did rank, not every, but whatever this tierlistmaker.com list had, the best and worst WWE pay-per-view names of all time. It's about a 20-minute video. Check it out. And I think King and Queen of the Ring is on there. Crown Jewel, I think, is on there. A lot of them are on there. Not every single one, but most of them. Richie said, I've said it before and I'll keep saying it. NXT is the best women's division in pro wrestling today. I think even with the call-ups, I think that's an accurate statement, Richie. I would agree. And Richie also said, like you said, Graham, despite the recent call-ups, they're still killing it. I agree. He also said, didn't we kind of have an all-women's show or all-women's wrestling promotion in the U.S. with WOW, Women of Wrestling? Or would this female brand be under the umbrella of WWE, TNA, AEW, etc.?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, and Richie also referenced, he said, never mind, I just saw Johnny's question, LOL. I should really look at the chat before speaking sometimes. No, I'm the exact same way. But yeah, no, I think Women of Wrestling is kind of what you're referring to. I think WOW is an all-women's wrestling promotion. I don't know if you mean, again, as a major platform under WWE in TNA, but I'm not even convinced that if WWE, let's say hypothetically, were to buy Women of Wrestling, would they even use it like the same way that it's being used now? Like AAA, for example. They bought AAA. To my knowledge, they're still going to allow AAA to operate under how it's been operating up to this point. They're just going to give them more of a platform, like maybe even a TV deal at some point. Like WOW has a TV deal, I want to say on Access? Maybe on another network, but I think they have a TV deal. It's not great because it's not on like CW or something like that. If WWE were to buy it, would they give them a bigger platform to really showcase what they could do and also lend them some talent from their own roster? That would be cool. Like that's what they're doing with AAA. I don't see that happening, but that's probably best case scenario. I don't know if WOW works on its own. I don't know if they have enough buzz or enough of a big enough platform for that to really work. But again, I can't really speak to the quality of the show because I haven't seen it. Fernando mentioned, though, the Willow is actually started in Women of Wrestling. I did not know that. I know Willow was on the indie circuit here in the Northeast before joining AEW because she was at a bunch of like Northeast wrestling shows and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't know that she was in Women of Wrestling. That's interesting. Richie said, do you think that Night of Champions will be the last time that we get Punk versus Cena, or do you think WWE runs it one more time after the Saturday before John retires? No, I think this is it. They're branding it, not as much, but I have seen the wording of certain posts and tweets and stuff like that they've put out regarding this match, that this is the final time ever. And listen, I'm glad we're just getting it at all, even if it does feel rushed. I mean, even their original fucking feud in 2011 was rushed. Not with the Money in the Bank stuff, but SummerSlam, their rematch. I mean, CM Punk left the company and then came back 8 days later. So it's not even the first time that a CM Punk, John Cena rivalry has been rushed. But I'm glad we're getting it. And I think this is it. It would be awesome if they ran it back one more time in the States before the end of the year.
Like in Chicago or Boston?
That's really where it should have been.
It should have.
Specifically in Chicago, but doesn't sound like that's going to happen at this point. Again, I'm glad it's even happening at all. But they probably wanted the big attraction for Saudi, and they don't see it happening at SummerSlam. I see a lot of people saying, oh, SummerSlam, that's where it should happen, blah, blah, blah. I agree. That is a SummerSlam match. It was a SummerSlam match back in 2011. The problem is that they wanted to do John Cena and Cody Rhodes and have them run it back there. And I can't even say I disagree with that. It's a predictable path to take. But honestly, if it means getting the belt off of Cena on the Sooner side and cutting short the heel turn that has been largely underwhelming so far, that might be the best case scenario. You don't give the belt to Punk before you give it to Cody Rhodes. Cody has to get his win back, especially after he was made to look like a fucking idiot in the finish of that match at WrestleMania. That really wasn't all that great overall. Richie said, I was under the impression that we were getting... My mic's in the way, so I got to move it a little bit. I was under the impression that we were getting Evolution 2 because it seemed like we were getting the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments. I mean, we are getting Evolution 2. It's just in July. They're doing way too many shows. I mean, they're trying to build up 3 separate pay-per-views right now between Night of Champions this weekend, not even counting NXT Great American Bash, but that's also in a few weeks. They have Night of Champions this weekend, Saturday night's main event that they're building with the Goldberg-Gunther match, of course, for the World Heavyweight title. But then Evolution 2, being all forgotten about the next night, there is not a single match announced for that show.
Did they confirm they're doing it?
Yeah, of course. They announced it like officially at Money in the Bank. They announced it, I think, if not before then or around that time. And it was kind of clear they were. It's funny because the only match it seemed like they were actively building towards, and I'm sure they're going to do something with Becky, Bayley, and Lyra, probably in a triple threat that I'll get to later because someone asked me about potential SummerSlam matches. The funny thing is that with Evolution, the biggest match that was clear that we were definitely getting was either Liv versus Nikki or Liv and Raquel defending the tag titles against the Bella Twins. And now that's off the table because Liv Morgan got hurt. And I'm sure they're going to pivot, as Rock would say, of course, and put Roxanne in there with Raquel and have them defend the tag titles, maybe against the Bella Twins. But there was no indication of that last night. Raquel and Roxanne attacked Rhea. So we're getting Rhea and Raquel at some point, maybe even as soon as this weekend, which is fine. I'm not really sure why that match needs to happen on the pay-per-view, but whatever. They probably just want Rhea on the show because she's a big star. But there was no indication that they're moving forward with the Bella stuff. Now, I'm sure Nikki Bella will be at Evolution, but she wasn't even on Raw last night. She wasn't on Raw last week either, and she was actually there in person. So I don't even think they know what they're doing right now as far as that is concerned. And that's only even one match. They have not announced anything else for that show. The only other match announced or made clear for the card is that JC Jane is defending the NXT Women's Championship, which is also funny. I'm glad they're doing that. But they have the NXT PLE, I think, the day before, so I guess JC Jane won't defend on that show, which is fine, but it's just funny. So she's going to defend on that show. They've confirmed that. Beyond that, nothing else is made official, and the pay-per-view is in 2 weeks from this coming weekend.
Unbelievable.
That is ridiculous. It's called trying to build it too much at one time with too many shows.
Yep. Way too many.
It's definitely excessive. Oh yeah, Richie said I was under the impression because they weren't doing King and Queen of the Ring tournaments. Yeah, no, I guess they're doing both. They want to do King and Queen of the Ring. They want to do Evolution. They want to do Money in the Bank. They want to do this. They want to do that. It's too much. Let's see. Richie also said WoW is apparently available to stream on Pluto TV, Paramount Plus, according to their website. Oh, I did not know that. I don't have, I think Pluto's free. I don't have Paramount Plus, but I watch too much wrestling as it is. But maybe I'll have to check it out just so I can tell you how good or bad or how inconsequential it is. Richie also said, I selfishly wish we could have gotten that match in the States. I would have paid good money to make my way over to wherever it was to see that match in person. Richie, I'm the exact same way. If they did Cena and Punk in Chicago one more time, and I'm sure I've said this before, I would have fucking flown there myself, whether it was a Big Four pay-per-view or not. Saudi is one of the only places I will not fly to see that match. And I think they knew that, and they said, hey, fuck you. We're going to do it where we want to, and you're not going to see it in person. But I'm glad we're getting it, and hopefully the match on Saturday is good, because I think the build-up so far has been great. Easily the best thing that John Cena has done since turning heel, and it's not even close. Let's see. John Cena should have a match inside of Boston Market. No, Johnny, that would be called the 24/7 title. That would be terrible. Eric said, do you think WWE should move Night of Champions? I'll get to that. Someone asked about it. Richie said, John Cena should have a match instead of a Wahlburgers. I like that idea more. Again, probably for the 24/7 title. I've never had Wahlburgers, so I can't really speak to the quality of Wahlburgers.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I need to have it one of these days. I'm more of an Inside Out fan now. Inside Out. Inside Out's a good movie. In and Out.
Inside Out.
In and Out's... yeah, they're both good. Johnny said AEW might try to do that, their own version of Evolution. I don't think so. I feel like if they were going to, they would have done it already. A Ladies Night pay-per-view, AEW versus Stardom versus CMLL. That would be a good idea. Again, I don't get the sense that they're interested in doing that, but it is a possibility. I feel like JC might lose it at a Great American Bash to Blake Monroe. That's not happening, Eric, because Blake Monroe is not in the tournament to crown a new -- 1 contender. Now, they had qualifiers last week. I think Lash Legend beat Kalani Jordan. Jordan Grace beat Lola Vice. Izzy Dame beat, I want to say, Zarya. And then they had another opener. They had another qualifier. I forgot who won. I don't remember. But I think Jordan Grace is winning and becoming -- 1 contender. I don't think she wins the championship. I think she puts over JC on the way out, and then she heads to the main roster. I do think Blake takes the title ultimately, but it's almost guaranteed to not be at Evolution, because they've guaranteed that the -- 1 contender who earns the shot tonight by way of winning the Fatal 4-Way will get that opportunity at Evolution. Maria asked, Alexis, or both of us actually, have we seen it 28 years later? No. You said you wanted to watch the movie.
I do. I want to watch it. Is it good?
Now,
I really
listen.
want to watch it.
Your brother, Dillon, told me the other day that he wanted to go see the movie. He said
Yeah.
he was actually planning on seeing it Sunday. Now, I forgot to ask him the other day if you ended up seeing it or not. I don't think so, because I feel like he would have said something.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I also asked him, have you seen the other movies? He said no.
Oh.
Now, first of all, he doesn't care. He's not really the type of person to go back and watch the preceding movies. Although he did do that with Dune. If you could do that with Dune, you could do it with anything, to be honest. Before we saw Dune 2, he went back and watched the first one. Yeah, he said he was going to see it. I told him, you wanted to see it. I told him what you said, and I said, I have no interest personally. If Alexis wants to go, ask her. She might want to watch the other ones. You probably need to, I would imagine. If you don't, then, I mean, go see it. I mean, we'll have to ask him if he saw it or not.
It's a really good movie. Yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson's in it, right?
I don't know. I don't know
I
who's in the
think he
cast.
is. I want to see it because he's in it. I like him a lot. He's a great actor.
Jada beat Thea Hale. Okay, yeah. So it's Jada Parker, Jordan Grace, Izzy Dame, and who was the other person? Oh, Lash Legend. So of those 4 women, I think Jordan Grace is going to win tonight. Or maybe Punk in his retirement match. I mean, no, yeah, Punk and Cena for the final Cena match would be great. But again, I think they're kind of advertising this match on Saturday and billing it as a retirement match or not retirement match. They're billing it as the last time ever for those two facing off one-on-one. So I don't see that happening. Do I see Rhea Ripley in the women's tag team division? No, I don't. Although, you know what would be cool? I really couldn't give 2 fucks about the Bella Twins being back. God bless them. They have their fans. I'm not going to really weigh in on the debate as to what their contributions are to the division. People were kind of complaining about that in recent weeks. I mean, they definitely had their impact in history. But anyway, that's a separate conversation for a different day. What you could do, honestly, which I think would be cool, you have Roxanne and Raquel take on Rhea Ripley in like a mystery partner. And I know it would be random for this story. Because, she has no history with any of these women, although she has said that she has wanted to team with Rhea Ripley in the past. First of all, Beth Phoenix being a part of it would be cool, but that's not who I was going to say. I don't think Beth comes back. I think she's done. What's up, Micah? Thanks for joining. I'll get to your the rest of the comments in a second. Rhea teaming up with a returning Paige or someone like that would be sick. I don't think that's happening, and you have to kind of factor the Bella Twins in there because they were a part of the story, or at least Nikki was, to start a few weeks ago. They kind of have to figure that out. But just an idea. Richie said, I guess they're holding off to make it seem like JC is not a transitional champion, which is a smart idea. Don't feed her to Blake too soon. Save that match for a bigger show. I'm going to be honest with you. I would not give a fuck if they had proved themselves right. They probably don't want to tell on themselves by having JC be a transitional champion. You're right. They're not having her drop the title immediately. She was definitely supposed to. But they're not having her drop it immediately to be like, see, she's not a transitional champion. We all know she's a transitional champion, all right? The fucking blind guy down the street could see that JC Jane is a transitional champion and is dropping that championship extremely soon. And her beating someone that is about to be called up can't convince me otherwise, that being Jordan Grace. So, yeah, she is still a transitional champion. She'll probably lose it, I would say, within a month of Evolution. So she'll win at Evolution, but then she'll lose it soon after. I don't see it being long before Blake Monroe is NXT Women's Champion. Richie said 28 days and 28 weeks later are great films. He should definitely revisit those, if anything, just to say he saw them. That would be my mindset, but I don't really think he gives a shit. Her brother, that is. But, if they're on an easy... The thing with me, too, I mean, I go out of my way to watch this stuff before the new stuff comes out, especially if I haven't seen it. But I think what makes it easier if it's easily accessible on a streaming service. Like for Dune, which I did not like at all, neither did she. We all hated it.
Yeah.
And then the second one was definitely better, but the first one was boring as fuck.
The second one was hilarious. It was not on purpose.
It was
so funny.
it was a good movie, but not a movie I'd ever watch again. And it was also unintentionally funny. Dune, though, was on Max, so it's easy to watch. The 28 movies, I don't know if they're on anything. That's kind of the problem. If you have to, like, buy it and rent it and all this other sort of stuff, then it doesn't become simple. Maria confirmed, yes, Aaron Taylor Johnson is in the movie. Yeah, so this is what you were laughing at. Alexis, if you like Aaron Taylor Johnson, did you watch Craven? Yes, we did. We did watch Craven. That was another movie that was definitely unintentionally hilarious. Not as bad as Morbius or Madam Web. It was like fucking, Citizen Kane compared to that shit. But it still was not great. It still was not great.
I keep reading ahead. People are making me laugh.
I know. I'll get to the other comments in a second. Micah, what's going on, brother? So what's up, guys? Rachel said, Graham, stop it. This is going to lead to a total Divas reboot. Well, you goddamn right it is. Well, that's also what you were laughing at. Hold on. My fucking computer's messing up here. A total Divas reboot? Sign me up. I'm going to have to start. Oh, my God. I was just about to say, and then I can review it again.
That's what I laughed
That's what I was going to say, and then I saw his comment. Micah said, Alexis, you should buy a Snuggie. You already have one.
I do have one. I did not bring it because it's like 90-something degrees out right now.
We're chilling in the AC right now. So, but outside it's a Snuggie, so you wouldn't normally need it, but in the current circumstances, I can understand.
Yeah, his room is like always notoriously on the colder side,
it's currently cold here in the studio with it being 90 degrees. You got to turn up the AC. It makes sense.
Yeah, but it's like comfortable. Like I'm comfortable with a blanket on. I actually have 2 blankets on. I'm very comfortable right now.
Paige is a full-time podcaster nowadays. Yes, I know, but she'll definitely be back for one more run or one more match in WWE, I'm sure, at some point. Micah said, let's make Thea Hale NXT Women's Champion. Jordan Grace is all hype. I've seen one match versus Stephanie, and I feel like Stephanie carried her in that match. I disagree. I mean, I'm not Jordan's biggest fan, but she is great. She's an awesome addition to NXT. She's very, very good. She's had some excellent matches, and go back and watch her stuff in TNA if you don't believe me. Stephanie, I'm a bigger fan of than Jordan. And Thea Hale, I mean, the character development would have to be there. I know she's gotten 2 title shots, and she lost both of them in recent years. I feel like she'd be better fit for a run with the North American title before she gets to the NXT Women's Championship. Jordan Grace is not winning the title regardless. I think she's going to the main roster before that happens. Captain Commenter said, sup, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Fernando said, my dog knows JC's a transitional champ.
I laughed at.
The real OGs know. What is the most shocking title win? Jinder Mahal was pretty shocking, but I figured there was a chance that could happen. That was one of them. Zack Ryder winning, actually, WrestleMania 32, I think, was pretty shocking because he was a fucking jobber at that point. So him winning the Intercontinental title on that show is shocking. Those are 2 that comes to mind. I'm sure there's a lot more than those. Micah said, I plan on watching the Minecraft movie Thursday night since it's now on HBO Max. Well, guess what? We actually paid top dollar. I'm just kidding. We did $5 Tuesday. To see that movie a few months ago, I did a review of it here on the channel. That movie was fucking terrible, but that was another movie that was also unintentionally and intentionally, but not in the ways that you would think. Funny. Very funny movie, so. But you're not paying $1 for it aside from your HBO Max service, so you actually did the right thing. Did you like Kick-Ass with him in it? With Aaron Taylor Johnson? I know the Kick-Ass movie. I've never seen it, so I can't say. Grunt, what's going on, brother? He said, hey, Graham, Alexis, and chat. Thank God for Central Air. Goddamn right. GSM Studios got that AC on full blast. You're goddamn fucking right it does.
Yeah, it's pretty chilly in here.
Is that a problem? Should I go turn it off? Exactly. No, because
maybe you could close the vent a little bit or direct it away.
It's fine. You'd be cooking in here if you weren't if it wasn't on. So I love I'm too cold, I'm too hot. It's like, all right, I'd rather be, and I've always said this, and my brother shares the same mindset. It's always, in my opinion, it's always better to be cold than it is to be too hot. Because at least if you're too cold, you can put on blankets, put on more layers, stuff like that. If you're too hot, then, then it's just a case of you have to keep, stripping down, that you're losing. You can only take off so much. Let's put it that way, okay? Especially when you're in public. Especially while we're here recording. Fernando said, I was going to say, for a hot day, you were pretty wrapped up. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm freezing in the 90-degree weather.
Yeah.
No, it's a Central Air thing. Richie said, Goldberg beating The Fiend was shockingly bad. That was not a shocking title. When I said ahead of time there was a big chance that Goldberg would win, she didn't believe me. No one really believed me. And then he did, and I was still pissed, but I wasn't overly shocked. But that was fucking garbage.
What is it?
Goldberg beating The Fiend.
Yeah, no. Fuck Goldberg for that. I stopped watching SmackDown. But I think absence makes the heart grow fonder. Is that how it goes? Yeah.
That's the expression.
So, wow, I look crazy. But yeah, now it's like, okay, we're better now because we're not under Vince's regime.
Fire takes, Cena pipe bomb was overrated, Micah said. I'll talk about that later on. A few people asked me about that. He also said, I don't even pay for the HBO Max service, and all I'm losing is time. That's funny. It's a, what did you say? It's a wild, let me see, hold on. The chat's
gotta
like
move it
cutting.
over.
Yeah, obviously. Let's see here. It's a win. Oh, okay, I see. Yes, it is. Do you want one last time John Cena versus Sheamus in a tables match? No, I can't really say I care to see that. In a regular match, maybe. A tables match. What is a throwback to TLC 2009? I don't really care. I thought Minecraft was very strange. Oh, that's one way of putting it, Fernando. Did you think Aaron Taylor Johnson was a good Quicksilver? Yeah, he was good in that movie. He just died in that one movie and he was never used again. So,
Woo!
I thought Quicksilver, honestly, he was a good Quicksilver. I thought the Quicksilver in the X-Men movies that was played by, I forgot his name, but the Ralph Boner actor
Evan
from
Peterson?
Evan
Evan
Peterson.
Peters?
Yeah, something
Probably?
like that. I think it's Evan Peters.
Yeah.
I thought he was a better Quicksilver, but I thought Aaron Taylor Johnson was good too. Goldberg eats corn the long way, Richie said. I know you fucking hate Goldberg, Richie, but I can't say you're wrong. No lies detected.
Yeah, he's not my favorite.
Richie fucking hates him. I've seen his tweets, and he said it here in the chat. It's just really funny. I'm not saying Goldberg's my favorite guy in the world, but
Richie, are you a Brett guy?
Richie's disdain for Goldberg is unmatched. Millennial Noob said, so who's going to face Io Sky at Evolution 2 in SummerSlam? A lot of people are saying that Asuka should be facing Io Sky at Evolution 2 and Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam. I'll get to that later on. You already asked me a question about that you sent in ahead of time, so I'll get to it later. Goldberg's absence did not make my heart grow fond of Richie said. Maybe make it explode, but that's about it. Grow bigger, perhaps.
Let me be clear. I could do without him. I don't care about him, but I'm not mad that he's doing what he's doing right now.
Grunt said, now watch Goldberg beat Gunther. Will you still feel the same way, Alexis? Probably not.
No, but
she was more... Oh, well, I was going to say...
Here's what I'm going to look forward to. I'm going to look forward to Graham being mad because it's funny.
I will be madder at that point than you were when The Fiend got beat, because Gunther losing to let me check my notes, a 58-year-old broken down man would be fucking terrible. That would be awful.
I mean, the same thing is in the character of The Fiend. I get what you're saying, but it
was worse.
Similar outrage.
Bray Wyatt, it is similar outrage, but this is worse because at least he then lost it right away. I mean, he could lose it the same night. It's the idea. Gunther is here, The Fiend is here. The Fiend was already beaten before by Seth Rollins. He was already made to look like a fucking loser at Hell in the Cell. Gunther has never been made to look as big of a loser than he would if he were to lose to Gunther, or Goldberg rather, at Saturday Night's Main Event. Yes, he has lost to Sami Zayn. Yes, he lost to Cody Rhodes. And yes, he lost to Jey Uso. All of those instances, for the most part, made sense, and it was okay. Like, even him losing to Jey Uso, him tapping out to Jey Uso did not kill his credibility. It's kind of questionable, but it didn't kill his credibility. He can obviously bounce back if he loses to Gunther. It's a fucking scripted sport. He's not dead in the water. But at the same time, it would be egregious if he were to lose to a 58-year-old man. That would be completely ridiculous, especially one that's hobbling in on an injured knee, according to what he said in a podcast a few weeks ago. I heard Goldberg got gassed doing that interview with Michael Cole, Richie said, the one that he did on Raw last night. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Fernando said, what are your thoughts on the reverse pipe bomb Cena dropped on Punk on Friday? Like I said, I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Someone asked about it. Johnny said, should AEW have kickoff events for their pay-per-views in the near future? What WWE does? They kind of do that sort of thing. I've seen them do kickoff events. I don't really care about it unless there's some sort of news value in them, then I won't watch it really. I don't even really watch the press conferences because those even are largely a waste of time. I attend them, but as far as watching them, at this point, I don't really, because they're mostly a waste of time. Richie said, I'm not the biggest Bret Hart fan. I always thought Owen was more talented. However, I'd rather watch Bret Hart matches than Goldberg. That's for damn sure. Hopefully most people do. Micah said, you guys aren't going to like this, but I hope Goldberg beats Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Micah, not only do I not like that, I might advocate for you to be banned on this chat. All right?
Micah,
and for you
are
to
you
never
being
be brought
serious,
back.
or are you just, trolling?
I also need... No, I think he's honest. I need you to send me a prescription for whatever drugs you're currently taking. And maybe at some point I can feel the same way as you do. Johnny said the match should be named Chops and Spears. Millennial Noob said a 58-year-old Goldberg is going to be Gunther. And everyone's going to crash out like crazy. I'll be watching that one live. So listen, I'll say this. Like Alexis said earlier, if Gunther loses to Goldberg, if he is to lose to Goldberg on that show, you can expect a generational rant here on the channel, not even on hashtag AskGSM. We wouldn't even wait until WrestleRant Radio that Thursday. I would be live the very next fucking day to talk about how dumb that is.
If that.
Captain said, is anyone outside of Atlanta excited about Gunther? About the Oldberg return, he said. I'm not excited. I'm, content with the idea that he's getting one more match. So I'm fine with that. And Richie said, I don't even think Atlanta's excited about Goldberg. I mean, we'll see. There's a big chance that Goldberg could get booed over Gunther. That wouldn't be overly surprising. But
why wouldn't he get booed?
What?
Oh, wait, yeah.
They're in Atlanta,
yeah.
It's also Goldberg. It's not like he got booed when he came back last week. So, Micah said, what about Goldberg gets screwed over by Braun Breaker? Right. Seth Rollins cashes in on Gunther, wins the World Heavyweight Championship. Goldberg versus Braun Breaker at SummerSlam. Micah, that'd be terrible. Well, what's the point of putting the belt on Goldberg? I think that's terrible. Oh no, you're saying Seth wins the championship from Gunther, and then Goldberg versus Breaker. I mistakenly read that as that would be the championship match. I don't know. Goldberg, they've already said in the interview last night on Raw, they've acknowledged this in the press release. Why lie to people like this? They've already said that the Gunther match is it for him, and he wants to retire in the South. He has said that publicly many times. So if he faces Breaker at SummerSlam, he'd be retiring at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. That ain't happening. So Goldberg and Breaker would have been a match I wanted to see if Goldberg was in just better condition. Not as far as he's fat or anything, but like as far as not fucking old and injured a few years ago, or as a short and sweet squash. But they ended up going with Gunther in that spot, and that's fine. Fernando said, as he said, he has said this before, yes, Goldberg wins, and let's watch the world burn together. Fernando, you are I forgot the word. Grunt used it previously last week, but you're either a masochist or
a sadist.
Sadist. I think that's what Grunt said last week. Micah said, I just want to see it so the IWC will crash out, man. We will get a fire rant from GSM and every other WWE YouTube content creator. I mean, I guess for that reason alone, if you want to see some great content, then I guess I could see your point. He also said, I could see WWE doing it. That's the net of AEW All In, and they probably want the shocking headlines. Also very possible. That would be to stick it to AEW by doing one of the dumbest booking decisions possible. I can't fathom Triple H actually doing that, but I wouldn't put it past the company itself if they really want to be extra petty. And honestly, it would send the opposite message. Oh yeah, it overshadows All In, but hey, look at this dumb thing we did booking-wise. That's almost an invitation to go watch the alternative product. So that wouldn't really have the effect I think they think it will long-term. Goldberg has to win in 1 minute and 26 seconds. What is a reference to Goldberg losing to Braun Breaker or Brock Lesnar that quickly? Or beating Brock Lesnar that quickly back at Survivor Series 2016? Why is Alexis off screen? Is she logging into her Tyreek burner account? She might be. If you see Tyreek pop up in the chat, she's got a laptop in front of her.
He can see what I'm doing.
She says she says she's working right now simultaneously.
You're literally looking.
When I'm not looking, I think you're pulling up your YouTube and
how would I possibly do that?
I don't know, but there are ways.
No, there's not. I'm not that smart.
Millennial Noob said Goldberg retired at MetLife Stadium. That would be embarrassing. Yeah, that's not happening. Grunt said, I sure did, and now I'm falling into sadism as well. Yeah, he feels the same way. He also wants to see that so we can all crash out collectively. Well, fuck you guys, because I don't want to be angry on this weekend, so I would go into Evolution with a sour taste in my mouth on Sunday, so. Yeah, Richie said working, quote-unquote. Tyreek. You know what? The only thing she's working is all of us into thinking that she's not Tyreek. Oh, she's working, brother. She's kayfabing. Can we do a poll on who thinks Goldberg will win and who thinks Goldberg will lose in the chat? He said, I think Goldberg or Gunther will retain, though. Yeah, amongst yourselves, let me know. Do you think Goldberg wins or Gunther? We'll talk more about it as Saturday night's main event approaches in a few months. It's a few weeks. Richie also said she's working all of us, brother. Exactly, Richie. That's what I said.
No, I'm not.
She's working all of us. Tyreek Cunningham will pop up while I'm answering questions.
Get out of here. And then he'll go, all right, gotta go, bye.
You say him, but I think you mean you.
It's not me.
Do you think an AJ Lee return is likely? No, I do not. I feel like if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. But if it happens at Evolution, that'd be incredible. That'd be an awesome moment. Be the highlight of the night, I'm sure. I don't think it's going to happen because I feel like if it was going to happen as part of a cameo or a return or whatever, it would have happened during the Punk-Drew feud when they mentioned her almost every fucking week on the show, and it didn't. But maybe they'll do it when we least expect it, and Evolution would be nice, especially since she did have a hand in kind of not leading the women's evolution 10 years ago. She was gone at that point, but with the stuff that she was doing to become a bigger focal point back in 2013, 2012, 2014, it would be nice to see her be a part of it. Richie said, Alexis is so over, brother. He's saying you're over.
He's right.
So is Tyreek. Eric said, wait.
Tyreek's the big bad.
No, Tyreek is the man. Tyreek is, like, he's asking, he even said in the chat I think it was a week or two ago, like a week and a half ago, he said, RJ, wait, hold out. He said, wait, RJ, hear me out, bro. And he never finished his hear me out. Hear me out on what? Are you saying?
Really?
Hear you out on a wrestling opinion in reference to RJ? Like, did he say something? Or are you saying, like, whoa, RJ, I didn't know he was so gorgeous. I like, hear me out. He's my hear me out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. We'll never know. Him and Love Ziggler, we'll just never know.
Wait, and there was something else that he said. I could have.
He says shit every single
It's just
week.
everything he says.
Whatever you say. I mean, Tyreek, I don't know.
Don't look over at me. Stop it.
Millennial Noob said, will we see Cody and Jade win the King and Queen of the Ring only to stick it to Tony Khan and AEW? I don't know how that's really sticking it to AEW. I know they used to work there, but does it really matter? I don't think... I'm going with Asuka to win. I could see Jade winning. Cody winning is inevitable, but it doesn't really stick it to Tony Khan. I don't really think he cares. For both of us, what is your favorite Jade Cargill match? I don't know if I have one. I think I have two, though. My favorite match, I don't really have a favorite match of hers that I would go back and watch on repeat, but there's two. There's the WrestleMania match with Naomi that we missed actually being in the building because we were out getting food, but I went back and watched the match on Peacock after that, and it was actually a really good match. I thought they worked really well together, which is why I don't really subscribe to the theory that she's like terrible in the ring. There are certain matches and certain moments that she's had in the ring where she's just not great, but she's also had matches that are good and serviceable, and she's totally fine. So maybe it depends on the chemistry and the opponent that she's working with. I don't know. But I thought the Naomi match was really good. My other favorite Jade match was when, and no, not her teaming with Shaq against Cody and Brandy. That was, Red Velvet, rather.
That's my favorite.
Would it be your favorite? It's probably your most memorable. I don't think you can even think of another one.
It's not my favorite.
I mean, is there another Jade Cargill match that comes to mind for you?
Not really. I like her more as the character, and what she does for, like, women's wrestling as a whole, like, just being a really buff woman. Her wrestling doesn't really stand out to me, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't really think many people could come up with a top 5 of Jade Cargill matches, but I'll give you another one, though. The rematch, actually, the first one was like a quick angle, and it was like 90 seconds. But the rematch between Jade Cargill and Chris Statlander, actually, on Rampage, it was Jade's final match. She left after losing the TBS title 2 years ago, and then she came back for a one-off match with Chris, the rematch for the title, and it was actually the best match, I think, of her entire career. So that would probably be my favorite Jade Cargill match. I believe that was on Rampage back in September of 2023. Richie said, I was saying to a friend of mine, what if we get Bayley versus Becky for the IC title at SummerSlam? Bayley goes over. AJ Lee returns in her backyard of New Jersey. Oh, I didn't really think about that. That would be cool. I would be totally down for that. I don't see that happening. I don't think Bayley wins the belt. I think it either goes back to Lyra or stays with Becky. But that would be sick, though. Johnny said, you should do a ranking of AEW pay-per-views opening matches as well as Will Ospreay pay-per-view matches. I mean, if it's on tierlistmaker.com, maybe at some point we can do that. Richie said, we did get Bayley asking Punk to bring her in during that backstage diary of Punk's Survivor Series return. Watch it back and listen to what she tells Punk when they do hug. I know Bayley wants her back. I know Roxanne and Cora Jade, who's no longer there, of course, wanted AJ back. I'm sure it will happen at some point. It just hasn't happened yet. I don't know if it happens at Evolution. I don't know if it's for an in-ring return or if it's just an appearance. Even an appearance would be cool. I think she will be back at some point for a Hall of Fame induction down the road because they only have so many women they can induct. But yeah, I think, an AJ Lee return would be awesome. Her working with Bayley would especially be awesome, but I'm just not. You're going to get me excited for something that probably won't happen. Grunt said Tony Khan will be too busy putting on the show of the year to care. I think All In will probably be the best show that weekend out of Evolution and Saturday Night's Main Event, the NXT show. I think All In will definitely be better. Show of the year, we'll see. But All In last year was their show of the year, and 2 years ago it was also a fun show, albeit not their greatest show ever. Johnny said you should do, or I already mentioned that. Commenter said, how about that Mr. Iguana? He's quite the, trend, I suppose. I've kind of seen it die down in the last couple of weeks, but they were really on that Mr. Iguana train for a little bit there, WWE was, as well as the online audience. I don't know if when he comes back to NXT at some point, or the main roster even, if people would not remember, but react as, insanely as they did when he was at Worlds Collide a few weeks ago. But, I would get as much out of that, squeeze that sponge for as much as it's worth. Eric said, wait, I thought Eddie was released months ago with the last wave of cuts. Eddie who? Who are we talking about here? Eddie Thorpe? Is that who you're referring to? I don't know if I ever mentioned Eddie Thorpe. I'm thinking Eddie Edwards. I'm thinking Eddie Kingston. Eddie Guerrero. If you're talking to Eddie Thorpe, I guess he said yesterday or the day before he was not released. He was released, but he actually asked for his release. I guess it was something he requested and they gave it to him. So I guess he wasn't just released because they didn't want him there. Although, even if that was the case, I wouldn't be shocked. Noob said all of Jade Cargill's matches in AEW are squash matches, but I like the feud that her and Chris Stanlander had in AEW and her match with Naomi at WrestleMania. I agree. Yeah, the match at Mania was indeed fun. I agree. Micah said, we are 6 months in, ? We are, or what would you say so far is looking to be the match of the year, WWE only? Well, I mean, in general, it's anything almost AEW related. But WWE only, quite honestly, thinking on it now, and there honestly isn't a whole lot of, contenders. But the first one that comes to mind is Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair in the triple threat of WrestleMania. I think that's the match to do.
I agree.
As the match of the year. For WWE, I think there's AEW matches that are better. I think Hangman and Ospreay was better than that. I think there's a few of them, but definitely that one might be my match of the year so far. Richie said, speaking of SummerSlam, are you and Alexis going? I'm reconsidering attending, and I want to try and secure my tickets for Slammiversary next week as well. Side note. Yeah, you were talking about Eddie Thorpe there, Eric. I am likely going. Alexis is likely not going. If you do go, Richie, let me know. Would love to see you, obviously, at some point that weekend. We're going to hang out before then, of course. We've already discussed this. But if you go to SummerSlam, let me know. Slammiversary, I think there's a much higher chance that we're both at that show. I really want to go to that show as well. It's in Long Island, New Island, or whatever the fuck, New York. So it's not New York, Long Island.
Long Island.
That's what I said.
You said New Island.
But then did you hear what I said after that? I said New Island, but then I said Long Island, New York. You just hear what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to try to go to Slammiversary, and it is close, and it's not too far off. So, yes, that would be awesome. Jade and Jordan Grace tag team should be named Buff Women, Johnny said. And I think they're better off on their own. Grunt said, speaking of any thoughts on the 2 casino gauntlets being announced, I can't imagine that there will be many more matches booked. Ospreay versus Swerve, or Ospreay and Swerve rather, versus the Bucks for sure, and maybe a tag title match. Yeah, definitely Ospreay and Swerve versus the Bucks. The casino gauntlet matches, I think doing 2 on the same show is kind of excessive, but they want to get as many men and women on the show as possible, so I guess. Richie said New Island, Long York, so there's your answer. But yeah, no, I think, I hope they don't add too many more matches. They don't need a 10-match card. I could see them doing that because they want to get as many people on there as possible. But if you have 2 casino gauntlets, that's like almost having 2 fucking rumbles. I don't really need more than 7 matches, 8 matches max. But they'll probably do that anyway. But I think the card as it stands so far is not complete, far from it. But it is, it's promising for sure. I'm looking forward to it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Noob said, but did Jade Cargill ever wrestle a Joshi wrestler in a one-on-one match? She didn't wrestle any Joshi wrestlers in AEW. She is going up against Asuka at Night of Champions. Yeah, I don't think she did. Unless she had a match with Yuka Sakazaki or something. I know she never faced Riho one-on-one in AEW. She never faced Shida one-on-one in AEW. Emi Sakura, maybe? I don't think she did, though. So, yeah, she might be the first Joshi that she ever faces one-on-one. That's an interesting fact. Johnny said, my match of the year so far is Will versus Hangman. That would be mine as well. Grunt said, I would say Fletcher versus Cole, but they could easily be thrown into the gauntlet. Yeah, I think Fletcher versus Cole would be perfect, too, as an addition to All In. I could also see them in the gauntlet. I'm kind of expecting that at this point, but I kind of want it one-on-one so Fletcher can beat Cole for the TNT title. Mike has said, what about the triple threat from SmackDown with the tag titles at TLC? That's a great question. I didn't forget about it. That is my match of the year, actually. That might be my match of the year more than the women's match. I love that triple threat TLC match. That's one of my favorite matches I've seen on SmackDown, period. I think the women's match might be better, and the women's match was better, but the TLC tag team title match is probably a very close number 2 as far as WWE matches of the year. Richie said, I agree, Graham. I'd say the women's and men's triple threat matches at Mania are possibly my only 2 match of the year contenders so far. I agree. I think they are. Captain said, did you cry when Ray got injured right before Mania? That was sad. Should have never happened. Didn't cry, but it was a bummer that he didn't face Chad Gable because that match would have been cool. Grunt said, and All Out, right, JK. Unless, as far as shows I'm going to, I will not be at All Out in Toronto. I would love to be there. I haven't been in Toronto in a long time. Would love to go at some point. Not going this year. Grunt, at some point, I can guarantee you, I will be at a show in Canada again, and our paths will cross. We will meet up. And you owe me Tim Hortons because that's what you said you would get us. But I look forward to it. He said maybe Alexis as well. Not here, but he said that previously. That would be awesome. I look forward to it, brother. And we can chat over donuts and coffee at Tim Hortons. Although I don't drink coffee, so probably a hot chocolate. Johnny said, Tony doesn't need everyone on the pay-per-view, especially when AEW stops having only 4 pay-per-views. I agree. Johnny asked Alexis, do you have a match of the year?
The opener from Mania Night 2.
Yeah,
definitely.
the women's triple threat.
Yeah, that one was a lot of fun. And I'm sure there's a couple others. I just don't remember because I focus more on like the theatrics of it. That's why I watch. I don't know. Can you think of anything?
I mean, I mentioned the matches already, but the TLC tag title match. I mean, the triple.
Oh yeah, it was that one. I knew there was another one. It was that one too.
The other match that Richie mentioned, a lot of triple threats, but the triple threat from night 1 with Punk, Roman, and Rollins was also excellent. I mean, those would be my top 3, and they all happened within a week of each other.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Dirty Dom getting injured a week after Liv Morgan? Fernando asked. I don't think he's actually hurt. I haven't really seen more on that. I don't think it's serious, first of all. Second of all, I feel like it might be a case of he just doesn't want to work Saudi, and that's why he's pulling out of the show. It could be AJ as well, or both of them, but I think that's why the match isn't happening. And that sucks, honestly, because, first of all, God bless Dom, but it's like, for AJ, would he not get, like, the big Saudi payday? Because imagine if he is okay with going to Saudi, but Dom is not. I mean, I'm not saying Dom should go to the show just, to make it up to AJ, but it kind of sucked for Styles, because if he was planning on going and getting that Saudi paycheck, Dom pulls out. He doesn't have a match now. They're doing that match at another point. He's not on the show. And he's not getting the Saudi paycheck. Hopefully they would pay him anyway, but I don't know if that's how that works. Richie said, tempting to go to All In to see Omega versus Okada in person. Yeah, in Texas? I wish I could be there for that. That would be awesome. At some point, I do want to go to All In, whether it be here in the States or in London down the road. That would be awesome. All right, so we'll get back to the chat in a little bit. I do want to go through some scheduled questions here before we continue. Some really good scheduled questions. A lot of great chat questions, but I've already spent like an hour already on the chat. Over an hour, actually. We've been on the chat now for an hour and 6 minutes. So let's answer some scheduled questions, starting with Grunt, who I know is here. And I mentioned, as a channel member, he has his questions answered first. But for everyone else, if you want to send in a question for me to answer here on the show, have it guaranteed to be answered if you can't join us live. You can tweet me on the Twitter machine every single week at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Include that hashtag, and I'll include it in next week's episode. Also on Facebook, facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Include the question and the post that I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, include your question on next week's video, on this video, and I'll include it in next week's video in the comment section down below after the video is done processing, of course, and we're done being live, and I'll answer it next week here on the show. So anyway, Average Grunt said his first question was, this is a great question for you to answer too. I'll probably start with you. If you were a professional wrestler and had to pick a specific kind of match to specialize in, what would be your signature match? What would your signature match type be?
Oh, that's such a good question.
I love ladder matches, but I would never want to be in one. So honestly, whatever the easiest match type to do is, I'd probably choose that. I would love like a submission match, because I know some submissions from my time doing mixed martial arts, or a ladder match would be fun. Probably a submission match is my answer. I'll go with that.
That's a good answer. I don't know, because I would have to like go all the way back and be like, okay, what character would I want to be? Because I have like a whole bunch of character ideas. Even it's not like I would sit there and become a wrestler tomorrow, because I just would not. I I mean, the only thing I can think of, and this just logistically does not work, and I feel like, quite frankly, it would kind of suck, is like a cinematic match or something, like doing a couple of those, like one every once in a while. Aside from that, I don't know. I don't know. That's a great question.
I think cinematic would count, so.
Yeah, I would just say that because, I have an acting background, so I feel like that would be cool.
Grunt says, where does Don Callis rank amongst the best wrestling managers? Today at the top, along with Heyman. Heyman's obviously number one. Callis has been great in that role for a long time now. He is basically AEW's Paul Heyman there, Bobby Heenan, managing many people at one time. Probably more Bobby Heenan than Paul Heyman is their equivalent with Don Callis in AEW, but he's really good. I like the Don Callis family. They've kind of found their footing. They have way too many fucking members. Like, I don't think Lance Archer, for example, who I like a lot, doesn't really need to be in the group. Roppongi Vice, Trent Beretta, Rocky Romero, like, who gives a shit? What was his name? Mark Fletcher? Not Kyle, yeah, Mark Fletcher, I think. Not Mark Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis. That's his name. His tag team partner. I didn't think him being in the group made any sense at all when he was there a few months ago before he got hurt. That was fucking stupid. But overall, I like the group. I think Don Callis is great. Jordan B. from YouTube. If Cody Rhodes had stayed in AEW in 2022 and not gone to WWE, do you think that AEW would have reversed that Cody never challenging for the AEW World Title rule? I think they would have had to. If he stayed in AEW, what is he going to challenge for the TNT title for the rest of his fucking career? They would have had to go back on it. He would have had to.
I feel like what I would have done if I was booking the show and I was in like Tony Khan's position, in that he kind of had to take in all of their feedback to a certain extent. So pretending I'm him for a second, what I would have done is I would have convinced him to turn heel eventually, and then he just kind of like, Cody just kind of takes control of the rules and it's just like, well, I'm going back on my word because I don't care, because I'm an EVP, I can do whatever I want, and kind of a better version of whatever the fuck the Bucks are trying to do.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Was there anyone from the ECW brand, the WWE ECW brand, that you wish would have had a run with the ECW championship? For me, it would be Shelton Benjamin and William Regal. I agree with both of those, Jordan. Shelton Benjamin would have had to have won it in 2009 from Christian at TLC when they had their match, with the ladder match for the ECW title. That would have been cool. Regal also around that same time, he was feuding with Christian. I was hoping he would win it. He didn't, unfortunately. The only other two people I could think of, because like honestly, from the earlier years of ECW, no one really came to mind. Like Punk ended up winning it. RVD held it at that point. Sabu holding it one time during his time in WWE's ECW would have been cool, but it didn't happen. Trying to think of who else. I know a few people challenged for it, like Bobby Lashley was champion. I don't really know who else would have been a good fit for that championship at that point. 2007, same thing. But I wrote down Zack Ryder and Finlay. I think Zack Ryder was also around the same time period as William Regal and Shelton Benjamin, but he was really finding his footing as a singles competitor at that point. It probably would have been a brief run, but that would have been cool. And then Finlay probably would have been, like, he would have been a good ECW champion because he never got a title run as either World Heavyweight Champion or WWE Champion, which was never really going to happen anyway. But getting a consolation prize run as the ECW Champion would have been cool. He challenged for the championship a few times in 2008 and 2009, but it was just never the right time. So, like, Jack Swagger was champion and Matt Hardy was champion. Mark Henry might have been champion at one point, so it just never happened. But those two, and honestly, like, not glorifying what he did at all. Actually, today's the anniversary of what happened. But had things not gone down the way that it did, I think he would have been a good fit for the ECW championship. Oh, Kurt Angle, first of all, that's not who I was going to say. Kurt Angle had he not left. Chris Benoit, he was actually supposed to win the ECW championship. Chris Benoit beating Punk would have been an interesting time for that brand. I don't know if Benoit would have ended up losing it soon after to John Morrison, because John Morrison won it instead of Punk at that point. So, yeah, Benoit, if we're, not talking about the person here, if he didn't do what he did, then Benoit, Kurt Angle, Ryder, and Finlay. Micah does it from Twitter, of course, here in the chat, or actually from YouTube he sent this in, I apologize. And this goes back to the headline of the video. TKO and WWE should cancel the Saudi show on Saturday with everything going on in the Middle East right now, but they won't because of money. How do you feel about this? And if it were up to you, how would you go about this? Would you have the show or cancel it if you were in charge at TKO? He then offered an update soon after. He wrote this maybe last night during Raw, right before Raw. He said, update. Just saw Trump got a deal from Iran and Israel to stop feuding. This is great news. Hopefully it stays this way and everything can resume as normal. Y'all be safe. So you want to start with the whole, should they cancel or should they not cancel, or do you want me to start?
I'll start. I honestly feel like it's incredibly, like, not ignorant, but it's just incredibly, I don't even know what the word for it is. Maybe it's, like, rude or disrespectful. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like it's a slap in the face to just sit there and be promoting this, and they're like, oh my God, like, everybody, we're gonna do this in Saudi Arabia, it's gonna be amazing, like, everyone go watch the show, like, it's great, everything's great, we're so excited. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing they can really do about that in terms of, like, the way that they talk about it, because it's a pay-per-view, like, they're not gonna mention that on TV, but at the same time, it just doesn't sit right with me. I mean, I've never liked the fact that they're doing, like, the whole Saudi Arabian deal. I don't know much about the country, but it's more so, like, how they view women, and just how greedy they are, and the whole reason why they got that deal. They make so much money on it. Like, it's just so slimy and gross to me, and I'm already, like, annoyed that they're getting a Royal Rumble and they're getting all this other stuff. So with all that bias, like, already mixed in there, like, I'm already annoyed that it's even happening to begin with. And the fact that they have all of this tension right now, let alone the tension in the rest of the world, but just in the Middle East, it's like, I don't know. Like, yeah, they did allegedly agree to a ceasefire, although I don't know if Islam has said anything, because it had to do with, like, Islam, Iran, and the U.S. And Iran and the U.S. have spoken on it, but Islam, I don't think, has, up until, like, yesterday, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it is still, like, it's a very unsure situation, and it's, like, a scary situation. And I agree with people saying it in the beginning of the stream, like, this isn't, like, we're not changing lives here. Like, this is a wrestling show. Like, it's not the end of the world if you either cancel the show or you can't even postpone it. They would have to just, like, do it here in the States, or, like, in another country like Canada, or, like, something that's not right near Iran. Like, it's just, I find it, there's a word for it, I just don't know, but I just find it, like, disrespectful to the wrestlers, to maybe even the country, I don't know. It's just like, really, what are we doing here? Like, I don't know. But that being said, after the update, I think things are looking up. I don't want to jinx it, but I think at this point it's not really going to be an issue anymore. But still, that's something to keep in mind for the future. Like, what if more stuff like this continues to happen? Because tension has done nothing but rise more and more, like, throughout the world. So, like, what are they going to do then? That's the real question. Because for now, they're in the clear. But what are they going to do moving forward with something that's, like, even, like let's say they didn't reach a ceasefire. What would happen then? Would they still go?
Yeah, I think they should have canceled it, or at least postponed it and promised them another show at another time. And simply for the fact that I don't think they're in any real jeopardy by going over there. I think they'd be completely fine, because the blowback to them, attacking a WWE show, not from WWE themselves, but, like, from Saudi Arabia, would not end well. Let's put it that way for Iran. I don't think it would even be worth it for them to attack at that point or whatever. But my biggest concern was as to why they should postpone it or cancel it or whatever is simply for the peace of mind of the performers, just so they feel safe. Now, I do think a couple things here. They are going forward with the show, so they're not going to cancel it. It's Tuesday. The show's on Saturday. They have to fly out either today or tomorrow. There's people already there. From a safety perspective, I'm not going to say WWE doesn't care, but I think the biggest reason as to why they're still doing the show, because honestly, continuing to do the show in light of what's going on right now is a very bad PR move. It's just not a great look for them, and they probably expect people to move on from it. Like when they had the first Crown Jewel show, or the first whatever it was, Super Showdown show back in 2018. I think it was Crown Jewel. It was right after that journalist got beheaded, and they went there anyway, and a lot of people pulled out. John Cena was supposed to be on that show and pulled out. There were other people. Kevin Owens, I want to say, was supposed to be on the show and pulled out, among other people. They went anyway. The show was fucking awful, but that was a separate issue. And they didn't really care. And I think a big part of it is they don't want to piss off the Saudi government, and they don't want any backlash from them. I mean, this is the same country, and albeit this was 6 years ago, but still, it still was something that happened. They were stuck on the fucking tarmac in Saudi Arabia. For whatever reason, I mean, there's been a lot of rumblings. It was like WWE was holding them up or vice versa. They were stuck in Saudi Arabia, which is why we got that awesome NXT show, that awesome NXT edition of SmackDown the next night, because a lot of the crew was still in Saudi Arabia. Like, that was a very scary situation. And granted, again, that was 6 years ago, totally different circumstance here. Not saying they would get stranded there, but they could, not for that reason or what you're thinking, but you probably saw the report and whatnot of those airlines. I mean, this whole issue that's been happening in the last week with the Iran, stuff and whatnot, it's serious enough to where they've canceled flights and stuff like that. So if they're doing that, like domestic flights going into Saudi Arabia or coming out of there or whatever it is, and Iran and the countries over there involved in this whole thing. So a WWE crew member is already stuck over there. I mean, if I'm a performer, I don't want to get fucking stuck in Saudi Arabia, especially in light of what's going on right now. It would have been nice if they pivoted. It's not an easy task to just say, oh yeah, we'll cancel this show and then we'll do it somewhere else. They don't want the blowback from the Saudi government. They don't want the blowback from the Saudi king. They don't want to have to reschedule it somewhere else, because where would that even be? Where could they even find an arena on such short notice? I'm not saying it's impossible, but it would be a logistical nightmare. But they're also dealing with the idea that they could be stuck somewhere in Saudi or not even be able to get over to Saudi because of the flights being canceled. So it's kind of a nightmare on both ends. I will meet in the middle here and say, yes, I do think it should be canceled, but I will say, at the very least, this has not been reported, but the Dominic thing sounds a little fishy. I don't think he's hurt. I really don't. He only wrestled a week or two ago. We would have known if he got hurt in that match. He may have even wrestled I don't think he wrestled last week. I think 2 weeks ago he did in that 4-way. And he lost. He got pinned by Sammy. But it sounds like he might have opted out of going to Saudi. I think they should present that option to everyone. The problem is, and has always been with this company, Vince isn't there anymore, so hopefully this isn't the idea anymore, but you just don't know. It might just be the company culture, to where even if they present you with the idea of, all right, you can not go, it's okay. But then if you actually take them up on it, you got heat. Now, if it's Cody Rhodes, you're not going to be punished, or a CM Punk. But if it's someone in the mid-card, like Dominic might be fine, or a Jacob Fatu.
But, like, what about one of the Street Profits, or, like, Xavier Woods or something?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like a Solo Sikoa or a Jacob Fatu or someone that might be in the mid-card or whatever. And people like the Profits and whatnot, because it's not just the people in the Night of Champions card. You also have to consider SmackDown, too. Like, SmackDown is also being affected by this because they're taping SmackDown live there and airing later on in the day on Friday. So it's anyone on SmackDown as well. I don't know. I just think it would have been not even just safer, but just less concerning and less anxiety-inducing and just more respectful to the performers to get. I mean, I'm sure they do have the option at this point to just reconsider and have the show elsewhere. I just feel like would have been the better bet. They don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with the Saudi government, and maybe they don't even give them the option of, like, canceling the show. They're probably like, oh, yeah, it's fine. You'll be okay. I guess the charter flights and whatnot, I guess, make it easier for them to get in and out of the country. So I guess that's, now talking about it now, something they don't really have to deal with. But at the very least, I would hope that they give them the option to not do the show with no residual heat stemming from it. And two, they would also say this publicly as well so everyone else knows, even though we're not really affected by it personally because I'm not going to be there. I'm not flying to Saudi Arabia. But two, they ensure the performers and the people, their talent and the other people that are flying over there, that they will be safe. They're upping up safety measures, like they're going to have more security at the show than usual. Again, nothing will happen, I'm sure, but the wrestlers don't know that for a fact. They still have to leave their families. Like, they're still concerned about it. So I would hope they would ensure them, hey, listen, we'll up security. If you do go to the show, we'll make sure you're safe. But I don't know if that's the case or not. I don't know what they've told them aside from what we've heard publicly. And there seems to be updates on this every day. It's not changing because, again, it's Tuesday, June 24th. They're not canceling it at this point. But, that's just the reality of the situation. He also asked Micah did push fire and retire Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns. That's a great question. Honestly, I have no fucking clue. I mean, all three guys are kind of towards the end of their careers, Punk more than the other two. So it would probably be easier to say retire CM Punk, but because he's already closer to retiring than Roman and Seth. I mean, retire and fire are kind of the same thing. You're really only keeping one of them, honestly. I mean, honestly, if I had to keep one of them, you'd probably keep Rollins because he has more years ahead of him than either Punk or Roman. I would probably have to push Seth, retire Punk, and fire Roman. But I don't know. I mean, like, what do you even do with Roman's not an active talent, so how are you really pushing Roman? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of an interesting question. But I'll say push Rollins, fire Roman, retire Punk. I don't really know how else you can answer that. I mean, I would push Punk and get rid of the other two, but Punk's not going to be around for much longer, so you don't really get much out of that. But what would you say to that?
I would push Punk because I feel like there's so much more you could do with him. Like, yeah, he's older, but I mean that doesn't mean that you still can't do a good few programs left with him and do like things like him winning a Rumble or him like doing some sort of storyline or turning heel or like all this material. I feel like there's so much untapped potential there. So I'd push him. I would fire Rollins and retire Reigns.
Okay. Manuel A said from YouTube, do you think Stone Cold versus Hulk Hogan would have been as good as The Rock versus Hulk Hogan? Related to the discussion about matches that never happened from last week. We talked about that. Austin's own claim is that he didn't want the match because he thought their styles would not mesh well. Do I think it would have been as good as Rock and Hogan? Actually, I don't. I agree. I don't think Stone Cold and Hogan would have meshed as well in the ring. Not that Rock and Hogan had this instant classic in ring-wise, but it was just about the atmosphere and the people going crazy over everything. Stone Cold and Rock had better chemistry, and Rock was just able to work well with both guys. I don't think Stone Cold and Hogan would have meshed as well as Stone Cold did with Rock, and Rock did with Hogan. So I'm not saying the match shouldn't have happened. I do think Stone Cold and Hogan would have been a great match to happen at some point. But do I think it would have been as good? I don't. I think Rock and Hogan, especially for where they were, the chemistry, their respective styles, it was just the perfect combination of everything. I think Stone Cold and Hogan could have still been good and had its highlights, but probably not. If it was happening around the same point in time, if we're talking 02 here, or Mania 18, I don't know if it would have been as good. Good, but not as good. He also said, also related to Hulk Hogan in matches that never happened, do you think Hulk Hogan versus John Cena would have been good? Allegedly, if it was once planned for WrestleMania 22 and WrestleMania 25. That one I heard, not WrestleMania 22. But both times, the negotiations between Hogan and WWE fell through because Hogan wanted more money. Oh, what else is new? Notorious truth-teller, Terry Bollea. The Mania 25 one I've heard. We've talked about that before. Mania 22 I have not heard. Cena and Triple H, I don't even really believe that, honestly, for Mania 22 with Cena, because Cena was just kind of getting started, and they were having him work with Triple H on that show, which they teased. If you watched, I saw a quick segment of them interacting in late 2005. They had a backstage segment on Raw in fucking September, October, November, or somewhere around that time frame, where they were already pushing towards Triple H and Cena. So I don't really buy the idea that Cena and Hogan were going to have a match. I do believe Cena and Hogan was more likely for 25 because the match Cena had instead with Edge and Big Show was so fucking random for the World Heavyweight Championship. They were probably also planning on doing Cena-Batista the rematch from SummerSlam that Batista won, but Cena got hurt and Batista got hurt and it just never really happened at that Mania. It happened the following year. I don't think the match would have been good. It could have been... You have to think, Rock and Hogan was a great match for different reasons than the wrestling itself, but at least at that point, like, Hogan could still go, quote unquote, to a certain extent, although we did have some stinkers in 2002. You're talking 06 and 09. In 06, Hogan had maybe one match with Orton that was like okay. That was like decent. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it was far from a classic. That is Hogan's final match in WWE to my knowledge. If we're going forward into 09, even more back surgeries later for Hulk Hogan, that would have been not great. I mean, that would have been the year to do the match, honestly, of all years, but it would have been extremely limited, and would have had to be a lot of shenanigans and smoke and mirrors and stuff like that to get Hogan through that match. But Cena was still in his physical prime at that point, so maybe you could have gotten something special out of Hogan. He also said, did you ever hear the rumor that Stone Cold versus Randy Orton was once discussed for WrestleMania 25? Speaking of which, I learned recently that there was dirt sheet reports that WWE wanted to do Orton versus Austin at WrestleMania 25, with the angle allegedly being that Randy Orton's feud with the McMahons would lead to Vince calling in Austin as a last resort, with Vince inducting Austin into the Hall of Fame, even tying into the storyline. Somewhat supporting this is that there was a brief period when Austin was included in the WrestleMania 25 posters. I have never heard that theory. I don't believe that theory. Stone Cold had already retired in 03. Maybe they were pitching the idea. Maybe there was an internal idea to do that match. But again, I've never heard that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but that doesn't even make sense. Stone Cold, it didn't sound like he was interested in coming out of retirement. There were other times where they flirted with the idea with like a Stone Cold Punk match in the early 2010s. That I could believe. Stone Cold and Orton was already feuding with the McMahons. He was feuding with the McMahons dating back to early 09. Stone Cold was already eyed for the Hall of Fame induction. He was going to be inducted that weekend regardless. They were in Texas. It made sense. He was the perfect headliner for that class. So you're saying he would have been inducted and wrestled a match with Orton? What would the idea have been? Like, Orton was already headed for the WWE Championship. So Triple H would have faced who instead? So I don't know. That messes up a lot of plans. It's not like Orton and Triple H ended up being a great match. It wasn't. The feud was great. The match itself kind of sucked at WrestleMania anyway. You're saying that Orton's feud with the McMahons would have led to Vince calling in Austin. So I guess that's your play here. I also just don't think that makes sense. I mean, fantasy booking wise, maybe. But you're also saying, it's also supporting that theory is the idea that Austin was on the poster. Of course he was on the fucking poster. He was being inducted into the Hall of Fame. He was at the show anyway as part of the Hall of Fame class. So that doesn't really, he was on the poster and he was taken off the poster. Yeah, no shit he was on the poster. He was being fucking inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, yeah, I don't believe that unless that came from a creative writer. It could have been, again, theorized, but that doesn't mean they ever put pen to paper. I don't think Austin was ever close to returning to the ring, especially so soon after retiring in 03. Years later, maybe, but at that point, definitely not. So I don't believe that. All right, we'll go back to the chat here real quick, and then we'll come back to the other questions that were sent in ahead of time. And I got some doozies here from Chris W. from YouTube, so I'll save those for a moment. Let's see. Grunt said, I've seen it go around that there's no longer a bonus for going to the Saudi shows. It's just baked into their contracts now. Well, that sucks if that's true, Grunt. Richie said, with all of this nonsense going on with Iran, the U.S., ICE, and whatnot, I can't blame Dom for pulling out. If he's scared of everything that's transpiring, I'd be pretty nervous to travel anywhere as well at the moment. I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I don't blame him at all. Captain said, who do you think is winning the race to ruin their legacy, Nate or Hogan? I think Hogan's winning that race. I mean, the racist stuff is just something you can't really overcome unless he was actually, honest about being held accountable for it, but he really hasn't been. Ric Flair's just a fuck up, and it's unfortunate, and he just kind of seems like an asshole in a lot of ways.
He's also like a rapist.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, I mean, I just think Hogan's stuff is worse. I don't know. Because there's, I know what you're referring to, the plane ride.
What you mean by that?
I mean, it's not really for me to say what's worse. But I'm saying
right.
the Ric Flair stuff specifically, you're referring to, Vince has them all beat. Vince has them all beat with his stuff.
Of course, because he's done it all.
Yeah, he's done it all. More so that stuff than the Hogan stuff.
He's the final boss, no pun intended.
Of being canceled. But with Flair, you're kind of referring to Plane Ride from Hell, which definitely was very bad. But it's not like Like the oh fuck, my fucking computer's dying here.
Well, it's not just that though. It's like I'm pretty sure I've seen other stuff. I mean, I don't want to, throw an allegation out there because that's just an issue waiting to happen. But I'm pretty sure I've heard other stuff that he's done. Like he's been a notorious weirdo to women.
Weirdo, sure, but Vince was outright sued for it. I'm not saying Flair wasn't. I'm not even trying to defend Flair. I'm just saying the Vince stuff has it beat in Hogan. You're saying there's stuff out there about Flair, which there is, and I'm not saying it's not true. He is weird, but there's a difference between being weird and then Hulk Hogan literally saying the N-word on camera and not like joking about it. Like he was, and he said it multiple times. He is, probably still is, definitely was a fucking racist.
Well, yeah. But I'm also saying, like, it's not like Ric Flair's made a couple mistakes here and there. Like, he's still a piece of shit human.
He's a piece of shit, but I think the Hogan stuff is worse. Honestly, pick your poison. I think it's a very close race. It's a close race, but Vince hasn't beat regardless, in my opinion. Fernando said, do you think the report that Stone Cold wants to do one more match are true? I do think that's true. I don't know if it actually happens. But I think he felt good enough about the match at Mania 38 where I could see him saying, you know what, I feel like I could do this again. The problem is that match at 38 at this point was even 3 plus years ago. He's only getting older. I mean, is he going to have a match? What he did at Mania 38 was perfect. I wouldn't even attempt to ruin that legacy because it's going to turn into an Undertaker thing all over again. We're like, oh, it's so great, I can go again. Oh, that was awful, I got to redeem myself. And then it's a never-ending cycle. Micah said, All In is a 4-hour drive from where I live, but I'm not going just in case I haven't kept up with the AEW production. I watched that Mexico show last week, and I thought MJF versus Mystico was the best match. I agree, it was a very fun match. I would go anyway, honestly. You said, I won't go because I haven't kept up with it. Doesn't matter. I mean, obviously it helps, but I think the show itself will be awesome, and it's like their WrestleMania, and I think even if you're not familiar with the storylines, and you can get caught up pretty quick, even if you're not watching the shows, you can kind of read up on it or, watch a video or something, hear me talk about it. I would go anyway, personally. 4 hours is a long time, but I still would say it's worth it. Grunt said, for me, it would be dog collar matches, talking about the stipulation that he would want to have. After watching Punk versus MJF and FTR versus the Briscoes, I need more dog collar matches. Yeah, fun matches. I just don't know if I would want to be in one. Richie said Alexis versus Tyreek in a House of Horrors match. He who shall not be named. LOL, Alexis, no. I think he's talking about the Chris Benoit stuff. When you said the theme song. Better money song, Teddy DiBiase or Shane McMahon. Shane's song is a classic. I go Teddy DiBiase. Son or father. Probably father, but Shane's is a classic too. I would go father. I would go Teddy DiBiase, the father. Emmanuel, what's going on, brother? Hope you're doing well. Johnny said, Over the Edge 99. Fernando said, well said, by the way, about your Saudi thing.
Oh, thank you.
Johnny said, Over the Edge 99 proves that WWE will continue shows no matter what. You're right. I honestly think if it was 2024, 2025, they would not continue the show after Owen Hart died, I would hope, but it's hard to say. 99, I'm not even justifying it, but it was a different time, and they just didn't give a fuck, and the blowback today would be just too overbearing to overcome, so they would probably have to stop the show if someone died on their set or on their, in their ring or whatever. I mean, and it would just be way too disrespectful. And like the risk of sponsors pulling out and stuff like that. Anyway, Emmanuel said it's ironic that Cena versus Punk was built on Cena only agreeing to a title match on the grounds that Punk is going to Saudi. Yeah, I know they're kind of leaning into the whole thing that Punk is a hypocrite, which I think is cool. It's a nice nod. They're not outright saying it, which is kind of stupid, but that would also indicate that Punk is anti-Saudi, and they probably don't want to say that, but I'm glad they at least are kind of alluding to it. Richie said fire all of them. Rehire Melina, Alicia Fox, and Cameron. I agree, Richie. Grunt said absolutely not. Hogan trying to take that stunner would have been embarrassing to watch. Hogan's got a pose, Cody Rhodes said. That's funny. Fernando said Stone Cold versus Cena should have been, or would have been a lot of fun. I think that could have worked. Did I watch Hogan's matches in TNA, Johnny asked? Yeah, I saw any of them that were televised. Honestly, the Sting match at Bound for Glory 2011 was a lot better than it had any right to be. Unfortunately, that's not his final match. He wrestled like an Australian tour, I want to say, in 2012, wrestled a couple TNA house shows that did not make the air. That might be his final televised match, and if it is, that was a good way to go out. It was not a great wrestling match at all. It was more of a spectacle, but it was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. Richie said, the other matches were kind of trash, though. Richie said, maybe Freddie Prinze Jr. can confirm that Orton-Austin match. Maybe, yeah. He would know because he was working there at that point. Fernando said, Randy just being a legend killer would have been good enough for a Randy versus Stone Cold match. Vince would not have been needed. Yeah, I think the match would have delivered. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying I just don't think it was going to happen. But if it was possible for Stone Cold to come out of retirement for the Legend versus Legend Killer thing alone, Viper versus Texas Rattlesnake, that would have been awesome. Richie said Vince and Hogan would have it worse because they were actually caught, but it doesn't mean that Flair is innocent. Hogan, between him and Flair, is winning. As y'all said, Vince has them both beat. I agree. Emmanuel said, let it be known that Hogan's N-word tape was him ranting about his daughter dating a black guy. Yeah, that is the context.
Disgusting.
And him, again, it's not just him saying it casually or just even referring to anyone as that. He was vehemently against the idea of his daughter dating a black guy. And again, it would be one thing, oh, he's a changed man. I know he's a big religion dude and he's born-again Christian or whatever, which is cool, but he hasn't actually come out and apologized for it. He's not accountable for it is the worst part. Like, it would be one thing if he did it, which is inexcusable enough, and if you can never forgive him, that's totally fine. But he never actually came out and was like, oh, I should have never said that. I feel differently now, blah, blah, blah. He actually doubled down and said, just don't get caught. Like, he didn't, like, and I'm not saying he said, oh, yeah, it's okay to say those things, just don't get caught. But when he came back to WWE, his whole argument was, oh, you know, people are videotaping you, and, you know, you got to be careful what you say. It's like, it's not the issue of what you said, Hogan. Like, come on, Terry. Come on, notorious truth teller, Terry Bollea. You can't be pulling that shit. Fernando said the AEW Mexico show pulled in its best ratings in a very long time. Well, that's good to hear. It was a fun show. It was one of the best Dynamites all year. Not the best Dynamite. I would still reserve that for the Boston show they did back in April, but it was a good show. Johnny said some people just hide behind a religion. No, I believe he's actually like super into the religion stuff. I mean, he says and does a lot of things that would make you think that he is, but
no, but I kind of agree with that to an extent. Like, you're using that as
I don't know if he's doing that intentionally.
No.
It might be two separate issues.
But if he is like really pushing this idea that he's extremely religious now, then it's like, okay. And if he ties it into that, like, all right.
I don't think he did, though. That's my point. I think he's doing the religion thing, but he doesn't. You would think if he was actually really religious, and we're not going to get into a big discussion about this, but you would think if he wanted to tie into that, he would be like, I haven't read the Bible in a while. I haven't dusted that thing off, so I can't really speak to it. But you would think he would say, you know, I'm a more forgiving man now as a man of religion. I have to forgive myself, and I love all people equally. But he didn't say that. You know what I mean? And it's not even like oh, he's a big religion guy, so he's like anti-gay or something. Maybe he is that too, but he's never talked about that. You know what I mean? That would honestly make more sense. For as bad as that is, that would make more sense. This is a race thing. And you would think he would be like, oh, love all people equally. Well, clearly he's not if he's saying that sort of shit and never came back out and apologized for, is my point.
Oh, yeah.
Grunt said, did you hear about WWE having an issue with The Miz being on American Gladiators with Wardlow and requesting a Happy Gilmore trailer without MJF? Yes, I heard about both things. No, I'm not surprised. I mean, Vince might be gone, but they're still very petty with that sort of stuff, so not shocking. Richie said, I think I've said it before, but Hulk Hogan is the Steven Seagal of pro wrestling. Both men are phony as hell and believe themselves so much that they think it's the truth. Embarrassing. Yeah, I haven't really followed the Steven Seagal stuff, but I think he is pretty racist as well, if I'm not mistaken. I loved some of his movies from like the early 2000s, late 90s. Half Past Dead being one of them. Haven't seen it in a long time. Great flick. But, you know, he seems like a real piece of shit in real life, which is unfortunate. Emmanuel A. said Hangman, rather, doing a Spanish promo was pretty good. Yeah, that was cool. It was not a brief promo either. Like, he only spoke for a few minutes, but he spoke entirely in Spanish. Didn't do both. Didn't start in Spanish and end in English. He spoke entirely in Spanish. And he clearly does not speak Spanish as a second language. I think he learned it on the fly and memorized this promo in Spanish, which is pretty incredible. So for that alone, it was very impressive, and I give him a lot of props. Richie said Steven Seagal was saying he fought Bruce Lee, and Chuck Norris debunked that. Oh, okay, that he fought Bruce Lee, and Norris debunked that. Hogan saying that he wrestled 400 days, which doesn't need debunking, because that makes zero sense. Both men are Delulu, he said.
Delulu.
I agree. Hogan's lies are so entertaining, though. I mean, you hear what this man says on podcasts and in documentaries and online. saying that he was the front runner for Metallica at one point, or like how he wrestled at Wembley in '92 at SummerSlam, and he gave like tickets to a kid with cancer, and gave him
That's
the
my
front
favorite
row
story.
seat. But he wasn't even on the fucking show. He wasn't even on the fucking show. And you're telling me there was one open seat that just so happened to be open, and he knew, oh, the kid didn't make it. He didn't make it because there's this one open seat that would have gone to him. Fuck you.
Not like somebody was going to the bathroom or someone switched seats with somebody else. Like,
He is a real piece of shit, but he can be, I love him for his lies sometimes. I have to admit. It is a guilty pleasure sometimes. His lies are quite a guilty pleasure of mine.
he's got like 12 collective brain cells.
American Gladiator match. Team WWE versus Team AEW, Johnny says. That would be interesting. I will also say this as well. When we were at Disney World, I will mention this real quick. When we went to Disney World, our hotel, I did not do this on purpose, was right down the road from Hogan's Beach Shop, which I've actually been to before. We've been to both of them. We didn't go inside the Clearwater one when we went to WrestleMania 37 a few years ago, but we did go to his restaurant, which, piece of shit dude, but the restaurant itself, great food. I'm going to be honest with you. It was actually very good. But we went to the beach shop. It was closed. We looked inside. The doors were, see-through, so we looked inside of it. I've been to the Orlando one before when I went to Disney about a decade ago. Cool store. The problem is we walked to when it was hot as fuck. That's a separate story. But the store itself, if you have never been or have not been recently, filled with Trump stuff. Filled. Like, to the point where it's not even like, oh, Hogan and Trump stuff. Like Hogan and Trump on shirts. It's legitimately just like Trump stuff. Like some things just have Trump on them. Or like the picture of him after he got the assassination attempt last year. And I'm not saying anything good or bad about it. You can fill in the blanks there. But I'm just saying like the amount... the sheer amount of Trump shit that they had in that store was just... It was unbelievable. I will say the man knows his audience. If they're selling it and they keep the store open by selling that sort of shit, God bless them. To a certain extent, but that was our experience at the Hogan Beach Shop. Richie said Steven Seagal had a reggae album entirely with an accent. What, is that what you're looking at me for?
With an accent?
Do that information what you will. Man, that's terrible.
Wait, I don't know who that is, do I?
He said, what a freaking liar about Steven Seagal?
Yeah, who is
Google
that?
what he looks like. He's an actor. You wouldn't know him from anything recently. He hasn't been in anything in a very long time, like anything notable, but... You probably wouldn't know. He was in movies that like your mom would like, to be honest, like action flicks in like the 90s and early 2000s. Have you heard?
No idea who that is.
No, I mean not that guy. Well, I
Oh.
mean that is him. That is him.
Oh.
That's what he kind of looks like now. Let's see if I can find it. He kind of looks like that's kind of like what he looked like in his prime. He wouldn't have been in any movies that you would have seen, I don't think, but
Ew.
he had looks like a lot of surgery and shit or whatever. I mean, he must, because that was his hair there, and that's his hair now. Doesn't look great.
Why does he look like he drew his hair on with a Sharpie? Oh.
Have you ever heard the Hulkster in Heaven song? I have not, Emmanuel. I feel like I probably don't want to listen to that. Captain said, what do you think of WWE Unreal? I think it's a cool concept. It's that show on Netflix that they're going to be doing where they kind of pull back the creative process. I have not seen any commercials for that recently, so I don't know when that's happening. We watched the trailer for it.
Oh, okay.
A while ago.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, kayfabe's dead. What else is new? But I am looking forward to watching it.
Sorry to cut you off. They need to start a sort of shift from pretending like it's real and then like acknowledging that it's not sometimes to one or the other. And I kind of like this idea that they treat it like it's a TV show, because it literally is a TV show with actors that also are athletes.
I know, but it's the kids, like there's still a portion of the audience that thinks it's real, and it's been so ingrained in the industry for kayfabe to be a thing for so long. I understand what you're saying, but we're already past that point. Like, I think the only thing you might be referring to is like the press conferences. Those are a fucking joke, because they pretend they're real, and then they're not. That is where I draw the line. But like with documentaries and stuff, they already outright acknowledge, they use face and heel shit all the time.
No, yeah, documentaries. But they do stuff like when they have like third party media like on their channel, or like I don't know, like the little shows that they do before and after the weekly shows, like they're all in character. I'm not saying don't do them not in character, because that probably would not be good, but I don't know. I just feel like sometimes they're way too like in character, and then they're just not when it's a documentary. I don't know.
It depends, because I think the audience that they're appealing to with the kayfabe is real stuff is watching fucking Raw Talk, which I don't think they are. I mean, I'd rather they just break down what happened on the show, like an analyst, not someone like me necessarily, but like I'd rather someone. The issue with that, the issue is that they're not going to have someone on their shows shitting on the show. I mean, like, all right, that booking idea sucked. Like, they're not going to have that. Why would they? That makes company-wise, that makes no sense.
Well, yeah, of course. I'm not talking about that, but I don't know. There's got to be more stuff you can talk about than just, like, pretending that Bailey got run over by a truck or something and she's going to go feud with Becky or something.
That isn't interesting in 2025, so I agree with that. Fernando said, as someone who speaks Spanish as a first language, Hangman did a great job. Johnny said, Hulk Hogan recording a rap album with Kendrick Lamar. Fuck no. Let's hope not. They're not.
What?
And then Richie said, they're not like us, brother.
Wait, where is this? Oh,
Hulk Hogan recording a rap album with Kendrick, and then Richie said, they're not like us, brother.
don't do Kendrick like that.
Johnny said, Alexis, what did you think of the Anarchy in the Arena and Willow and Marina's performances? She didn't watch it, so she can't say.
Yeah, no, I didn't watch it.
She doesn't like Anarchy in the Arena anyway, so she has seen a few of them. She's good.
I liked the older Stadium Stampede matches. Those were a lot of fun, but, like, I don't know. There's a time and place for those. Yeah.
If you're a fan of racing, the movie F1 with Brad Pitt is very good. I recommend it. Have not seen it, but her family are racing fans, so I'll have to tell them about it if they haven't already seen it. Yeah, Richie said that is so accurate. He was in movies that your mom would like, because my mom liked his movies back in the day, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked some of his movies in the 90s and 2000s, to be honest, so I kind of fall in that category, too. So what does that say about me? Johnny said Steven should do a Marvel movie. No, Johnny, you should not. Richie said Steven can be the opening credits. Ava Rain will be the end credits. Perfect. I agree. That's the best movie. Just credits and then credits. Maria said Hulk Hogan once said that he was a bodyguard for Moses way back in the day. Moses, like religious Moses here?
What?
I don't think he meant. I think he mean like. There must be someone else that you're referring to.
I need like someone to make a website where it's just a list of all the lies that
I'm sure
ever
that
told.
exists. I just know what I need. I'm sure that exists. I need someone to bring that to his attention and be like, true or false? Because some of this stuff, surely all these years later, he was like, yeah, no, I misremembered. He's not going to say I lied. He's not going to admit that, obviously, but he could say, yeah, that's not true. I just need someone to bring all this stuff to his attention. Like one of those fucking variety videos that they do on their YouTube channel where they pull off like, well, not even a compilation, but like, you know how on like those videos that these outlets will do with these celebrities before their movies come out, where like they go through Google searches, what people Google search about them. I need one of those for Hulk Hogan, like where they break down all of his lies. What about this? What about like every single one? And I'm sure some of them he'll stand by, but I can't imagine he would say all of them are true. He would have to say some of them are bullshit. He'd have to. Emmanuel said off topic, but I saw some of your Letterboxd reviews recently and saw that you watched Luck. If it felt like a poor man's Pixar, because that's what he wrote, that's because the studio literally got John Lasseter as a leader.
Really?
I did not know that. That makes sense. Yeah, no, the movie was okay. It was not great.
But like an animation leader or like a part of the writing? If it was a part of the writing, then like that does not...
The writing wasn't great.
No, it wasn't. The animation was good.
It was mostly good. I remember
Yeah.
I told you there was that scene where she was like crying or upset or something, and she just goes, like if you muted it, you just see her going, like it was weird. It didn't match up, and I know it's animation, but it was just very odd. She felt very inanimated, if that makes sense. Did you see the Queen of the Ring movie? What did you think? Yes, we did watch it. Thought it was good. Didn't think it was great. What was that other movie? Iron Claw. Infinitely better.
Yeah.
The wrestler's obviously incredible. Much better wrestling movies. It was very just disjointed. I know the director was on Jericho's podcast and said they had to cut out a lot of stuff to fit a certain runtime.
Yeah,
you can
that's
tell.
what I said while we were watching the movie. I'm like, it is so rushed. Like we're here and then we're all the way over here. 2 minutes later, like it's all over the place.
Certain stuff. I mean, there was obviously a lot of stretching of the truth, but I can't really complain too much about that because, like, the Iron Claw did that. What, do you need to use it? Oh, I didn't see that.
Context, I've been asking him for the past, 5-10 minutes if I could charge my laptop.
I didn't see that. I wasn't looking at your phone. I don't know.
I went like this.
I was answering the question.
I went like this.
I was answering the question. It's called I'm a man of the people.
Gosh.
The people are more important than your laptop.
Yeah, well, my laptop's on low battery and I don't
Well,
have
if you
my
charged it ahead of time.
I did. It was fully charged.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My laptop is quickly losing battery because I'm recording, and that's eating up. I mean, it was fully charged right before we hit record, and it was dying within an hour and a half. So
Yeah.
but that's because I'm recording. Otherwise, it can last a very long time. Anyway, we thought it was good. I liked it more than she did, but even I didn't think it was a great movie. I thought it was okay. I think I gave it 3 stars, but yeah, no, I would recommend it if you're a wrestling fan. I support anything wrestling related in theaters because I want to see more of it. So we saw it. AEW, actually, I used the deal that they gave out. It was like buy a ticket, buy 2 or get 2 free, which was fucking awesome. So we saw the movie for the price of 1 person, and we brought 3 people, collectively 3 people. But yeah, I thought it was good. The karate match at All In, Speedball Mike versus Steven Seagal. Hopefully Speedball would win very easily. Grunt said, love the Iron Claw minus the removal of that one brother and that awful Ric Flair impersonator. The Ric Flair impersonator was garbage. It didn't ruin the movie, but like a Ric Flair impersonation shouldn't be that difficult. He sucked. And the removal of the one brother, I get it. They just thought it would make for a better movie and less depressing. But it's like, bro, that's so disrespectful. Like,
But like that was
at least mention it or something.
the whole point of the movie was to tell their story, and it just feels
There is such a thing as, it's not just to tell their story on it. It is to make a good movie. Anything, even if it's a true story, is to tell it.
but when they're using a whole ass person that died, that's a very big part of the story, and they're just like,
But
we're not gonna put that in because that's
I
too
get
sad.
it though.
Like that's shitty.
No, it's not. It is shitty. Morally, it is shitty.
Yeah.
But again, there is such a thing as, I get it. Would I have done that? No. But there is such a thing as too fucking depressing. They don't want to make it. It was already depressing. Remember, there was all those non-wrestling fans that were like, I'm so fucked up after watching this movie. You need to make it a little bit happy sometimes. By maybe removing the existence of an entire human being. Maybe not ideal, but I get it. Richie said Alexis has to charge her laptop so she can troll the chat with her Tyreek account. I agree. That's definitely the excuse.
But guess what, Richie? Has he come in yet? No, he has not.
The day is still young. We'll go back to the scheduled questions here. We'll go back in the chat. Go back to the chat in a little bit. So if I don't read your question or comment right away, I'll go back to it momentarily. Chris W. from YouTube's got a couple of questions here. First one being saying, hello, Graham. Hope everything is doing. Chris is a big fan of you, by the way. So Chris wishes you well. Every time you're on the show, he's like, oh, love Alexis on the show. She always brings so much life or whatever. I mean, nothing you haven't already heard.
Chris.
You haven't already heard me say or haven't already heard yourself. But anyway. He says, hello, Graham. Hope everything is going well and hope you had a wonderful weekend. I watched I'm sure he sends his regards if he knew you were here.
Yeah.
So, I watched the first 3 Jason Bourne movies and saw Wicked on Sunday night on Peacock, and I thought it was great. Not perfect, but very enjoyable, and I can't wait to see the sequel Thanksgiving weekend. That wasn't what his question's about. He just wanted to start with that. He didn't know you'd be on here. Wicked is her favorite movie.
Well, no, I wouldn't say it's
Okay.
definitively my
I didn't mean that literally, but like it's among her favorite movies, especially recently. I'm honestly surprised it's not top 4 on Letterboxd.
It was at one point.
For how long? The movie came out like 6 months ago. For what, a month?
No, for a couple months.
That's funny how quickly it changes for you.
No, okay, but it's like recent-ish movies that I've seen that I've thought about that I'm like, okay, yeah.
That lingered with you.
Yes. They're not like my favorite and then the rest I hate.
I know, but like,
works.
isn't Smile 2 still on there? And Smile 2 came out before Wicked, but you kept that movie on there, so it's that movie stuck with you longer.
That one objectively is a better movie.
Wicked?
And that one has resonated with me more.
Smile 2 is a better movie than Wicked?
Yes.
Wow, okay. Interesting.
It is. It is. Prove me wrong.
I do also want to say this before I get to your question, Chris. I love the Jason Bourne movies. I think they're fantastic. The first 3 are awesome. First of all, I love Matt Damon, and I love anything he's in. But second of all, I watched those movies religiously growing up, and I think they're excellent. I have not seen them in a long time. I binged them a few years ago before the newest one came out. I might have to go back and do that. I don't love the 4th one, although I do like Jeremy Renner a lot because he's a great Hawkeye. I don't love that movie because it isn't really... It does connect to the other ones, but it's not Matt Damon. So I didn't see it originally. I went back and watched it, liked it, but the other ones are way better.
It's funny you say that because my mom, that's like one of my mom's favorite movies, and I've probably seen that Jeremy Renner one like 1,000 times.
I know, the other ones are just way better, though.
They are, I agree.
That one is good. That one is good. It's a good action movie, but it just doesn't really fit as well into the narrative of the other ones. But they did a 5th one about 10 years ago that I loved as well. I think it was just called Born or something, Born Identity, I don't know. Whatever it was.
Born
It was
Legacy?
No, that was the 4th one.
Yeah, that is the 4th one.
I think it was just called Born. Anyway, I had to go back and watch them because they were just I have to watch them back to back because they're very, very good. Anyway, his question was, I saw a video from the great Brian Zane on his Wrestling with Regret channel. Cheap plug, he said. Last week doing an excellent analysis of how Christian was booked throughout his WWE career. He showed off his frustration of Christina, that's what you wrote, Christina being undervalued, obviously meant Christian, throughout his hot period from 04 through 05, and that's where I think he makes a fair point. Though he achieved success in his 2 runs with the company, the simple fact is he was never pushed or booked to his greatest potential. Yes, he won several titles, and was the World Heavyweight and ECW champion, and had an awesome feud with Randy Orton. But he was never positioned as a big deal. He was never looked at as a true star. When he returned, they had Todd Grisham announce him in such a deadpan, lifeless way that it derailed him. Do you think Christian was an underutilized star? What do you think went wrong with his push? Why did that senile bastard Vince think he needed to be in ladder matches all the time? And can we thank God for AEW that his career is as revitalized and he's the best he's ever been character-wise? That's a loaded question. I am a good and bad person to be asking this question to. One, because I love Christian and I'm biased, so you'll get a biased answer. But 2, because I know him so well, so I'll give you an honest answer as well. Yes, he was undervalued, and he was definitely underappreciated. He has talked about before that he left the company in 05 because he was clearly gaining steam as a single star and as a top heel, and Vince and WWE just inadvertently or just purposely ignored it. They just absolutely ignored the momentum he was building as a heel. Took him out of the WWE title picture. They put Jericho in there instead, which was a fine feud, of course. But Christian should have been in that spot and should have gotten the singles pay-per-view match with Cena in 05 for the WWE title. And Christian has pointed to that as the reason for why he wanted to leave. And honestly, it worked out for the best because he was one of the first major stars, if not the biggest star, to leave WWE in a not prominent position, but in a decent position. And then jumped to TNA and become an instant star. He was a multi-time NWA world champion, had a lot of great feuds and matches in TNA, really revitalized his career over there, went back to WWE, which was the right call when he did all that he could in TNA, but he was never really above a certain level. And whatever Brian said in his video, I haven't seen it, but I'm sure he makes all the same points. Vince clearly, and this is not a small sample size of like, oh, he only was there for a couple of years, so it's hard to say. Christian was in WWE on and off for like 15 fucking years, okay? They never positioned him as anything more than a mid-carder. Even when he was World Heavyweight Champion in 2011, I was so happy he got that moment, and he was champion twice. The first one lasted 4 days, or 2 days actually. It ended on Tuesday. When they taped SmackDown that Tuesday, it aired on Friday. So he was technically champion for 5 days, but in reality, he was only champion for 2. The second run, when he won the belt on a fucking DQ, he lost a month later. So it was nice that he even got a run, and that Orton feud is among my favorite feuds of all time. It also happened at the same time as Punk and Cena. It was a great summer season for WWE. But he was never pushed as a main eventer beyond that. He went right back to the mid-card. He was the Intercontinental Champion, had a great heel run as well during that period, and then he had to abruptly retire. But in AEW, it seems like Tony Khan really respects Christian, and he has yet to be the AEW World Champion. I don't think he's going to be. He's obviously a lot older, so it's probably not going to happen now. But he's had an awesome run over there. And not that he was going to be in WWE saying, oh, your father's dead, and that's his whole gimmick in WWE. That wouldn't fly there. But he could still be a great heel and be booked a lot better like he has been in AEW while he was in WWE during either run. So yes, they definitely underutilized him. He just didn't see the value. He saw him as a good hand. He was the guy that you put in there with your top champions to have a great match. He would put Christian in World Heavyweight Championship matches with Orton, with Del Rio, with a whole bunch of other people, with John Cena. He would make them look good, but he would never be the guy himself. Dolph was kind of in a similar role for a very long time and had similar success as world champion, and to say that he didn't have a whole lot of success at all. You looked at me like with a look. Was there a reason for that or no?
No.
Okay, I thought you were like, oh, that was like an egregious thing to say.
Oh, no, I'm like working and doing this.
Okay, I thought you had a comment.
No.
Yeah, Christian definitely deserved better in WWE. I'm glad he's getting this final run in AEW. I think he made the right choice. I was initially bummed when he returned to the Rumble. I was so happy when he returned to the Rumble 4 years ago. But I was bummed he went to AEW because, like, WWE, obviously, I want to see him there. But I'm happy he went to AEW because if he went to WWE, who the fuck knows what he would have done? What Vince would have done with him? What would he have done with Christian? Probably nothing. He probably would have ended up releasing him or retiring him early. He had no desire to use Christian in any meaningful manner. And I'm not even sure Triple H would have booked him much better if he was there right now anyway. I would love to see him retire in WWE. He'll probably retire in AEW, but I'm glad we're getting him in the ring regardless because Christian is fucking awesome. He's one of the best wrestlers of the last 20 years in ring-wise. Never really given his just due. But yeah, Vince, I mean, for a long time, why did Vince hate him? I mean, he also thought he was ugly. I mean, you've heard that story before where, not you, I guess, based on your reaction, Vince wanted to do a gimmick where I forgot what he was watching, like a cop show or something, where they would blur out people's faces and put a dot over their face. He legitimately wanted to do a gimmick where he would put a blue dot over Christian's face because he thought he was ugly. He was like, oh, you got that rat face. And he wanted to do a blue dot over his face.
That man is one to talk. I mean, seriously, especially now, he looks terrifying.
Which is so funny because now they edit Vince out of stuff now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got the blue dot, pal. Fuck you.
Good.
But yeah, that's my Christian rant.
Weirdo.
That is my Christian rant. Now, next question. Are the men in WWE more over than the women in WWE, or is it the other way around? That's a good question. I'll throw that to you in a moment. I do want to say this. The men are more over, but it's not a fair argument because there's way more men than women, and the men get way more television time than women. I still think the answer would be the men. Because, I mean, how many, really over women do they have? They have a lot of women that are well-liked and very great. Io's over. Tiffany's over. They have women that are over, but over, Rhea is in a level all of her own. And then there's Bianca Belair and a few other people like that. So, you have Bianca, Rhea is in a league all of her own, among other people. But the well kind of runs dry beyond that. With the men, you have Cody's mega over, Punk, Jey Uso, Randy Orton, and all of these Rollins. These people have also been around for 10 years. With the women, you have Becky and Bayley's not remotely as over as the other ones, unfortunately, currently at the moment. But the answer is the men. But it's just not entirely fair to say because of they have more men than women. It's not like 50-50. And the men are on the show more. So do you agree with that, or do you have a different answer?
No, I completely agree. But again, who set that system up? It was the company. It's the nature of the sport. It's society. That's a whole other issue. And this goes back to our big discussion with the women weeks, maybe even months later. I don't even remember.
Yeah, it was about 3 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously the men are more over, but again, it's way less of a statement on the actual women and more so on the company, on the writers, on the bookers, all of those people, because if you do them right, when Rhea first got called up, she was a huge star in NXT. I always have been a fan of her ever since I saw her in 2018 or something, pretty much since she came to the company. Don't mean to brag, but anyways, but she wasn't that over. No one really cared about her. I mean, she was popular, but she could only get so far. And then once they booked her better, when she came into her own and a whole bunch of other things, it's not just she magically one day got better and she's just naturally way better now. She didn't really do anything except what they told her to do and what they booked her to do. And I think the same can be said for probably other women as well. Becky Lynch. I know obviously Becky Lynch did a lot of that heavy lifting herself back in 2018, 2019. So obviously she did more of the heavy lifting there, but the company also booked her to win at WrestleMania during the main event. If they hadn't done that, who knows what would have happened? Who knows what would have happened if they didn't give her mic time or give her opportunities to do stuff like that. That's the bigger issue, is the fact that the company itself does not book the women equally that they do the men. Mm. I don't even think they've ever done that. They usually have think about it this way. They have I don't even know, on average, 4 or 5 matches during Raw or something like that, and 3 or 4, 4 out of the 5 are going to be men's matches. One of them is going to be women's. If we're lucky, we'll get 2. And then 90% of the talking segments are men. And then sometimes we'll get 1 or 2 women's segments, talking segments. The company is doing that. And then because of that, it's a whole it's a whole chain of events in the sense that, like, people don't hear the women talk as much, so they're not going to be fans of them because they don't know much about them. They don't have a chance to hear out their story. They can't flesh out feuds well with the women, all because of that stuff, and because they're setting that system up, and they're setting those women up for mediocrity.
Mediocrity. Yeah.
Mediocrity. So, yeah, the men are clearly more over, but it's because it's a male-dominated sport, and it's a male-dominated field, a male-dominated company, and yeah, there's really nothing we can do about that in the short term.
His next question, favorite version of AJ Styles, TNA AJ or WWE AJ? Difficult question, honestly. I love AJ in WWE. He was obviously more in his prime in TNA. I became a fan of his in TNA, so I'm probably going to go TNA AJ, because I also loved Fortune AJ. I loved Lone Wolf AJ. You know, when he was on his own in 08, 09, 2010 AJ. I'd probably go TNA AJ Styles. WWE AJ has been amazing. His first year in the company was unmatched. He's another guy, honestly. He's not quite Christian level, but he's another guy I feel like whoever it's been, Vince or Triple H even now, have kind of underutilized AJ Styles. He should have been more in the main event scene in the last 5-6 years than he has been. He's been more upper mid-card than anything, and I think he's more than that, especially being one of the best wrestlers in the world at his peak, in his prime. I'm going to go TNA AJ, but AJ from WWE is a very close second. And I love his Ring of Honor stuff, too. I didn't watch his New Japan run, but I met him when he was in New Japan. I met him when he was doing the Ring of Honor stuff. Not before TNA, but like when he was doing it 2014, 2015, in between TNA and WWE. I mean, he was having an incredible run where he really revitalized his career, and that got him to WWE. WWE did not hire him when he left TNA. They didn't want him. But then they wanted him after he had all that renewed success in New Japan and Ring of Honor and on the indie scene. So I'll go TNA AJ, but WWE AJ I can also make a case for. Chris's next question, and just a reminder, I'll go back to the chat in a little bit. I'll catch up on your comments. I want to finish these questions through. A lot of them later on are pretty quick answers, but we'll get back to the chat before we wind down soon. So just a heads up on that. I'm not ignoring you. His next question was, I saw the John Cena pipe bomb promo, he said, from last Friday, and honestly, I'm 50-50 on it. On one hand, Cena hit Punk with some truth bombs, calling him a sellout and a hypocrite, and he also had some good lines in there. However, I wasn't too much of a fan of calling out Dolph Ziggler, Claudio Castagnoli, and Matt Cardona by their real names, because he's bringing up names that have nothing to do with the storyline, are not coming back anytime soon, or in time for the match, and is only doing it to come off as edgy, where it didn't really land with me the way that Punk did it. Felt too forced, too meta. Still a good promo, but didn't completely land with me. Do I make decent points, and did you think it hit the bullseye, or was it too self-referential? I think I agree with everything you just said. I thought it was great that they did that. I thought it was very clever. Awesome flashback. Awesome reversal of the roles. To have Cena cut the pipe bomb promo now on Punk, I thought that was awesome. That being said, the promo itself, Cena's obviously got better promos. It did feel an attempt to be edgy, but I think he mentioned Cardona, Claudio, and Ziggler in the way that he did, because, you know, Nick Nemeth, Nick and Matt, and then Claudio Castagnoli, Colt Cabana. At that point, like, I see what you're trying to do. Just fucking say Colt Cabana, Nick and Matt Jackson. Mention AEW. Like, you could have gone so much further with it. The seeds were there for an amazing promo. It was good. It was very good even. And easily, I think it was also great. And people are praising it and really gassing it up more and glazing it, as the kids would say, because it's easily the best thing he has done since he turned heel. The problem is that bar is so fucking low that at this point, honestly, anything is above that. Anything will be considered an improvement over what he's done in the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months. So I thought it was great, though, in the sense that I thought it was a cool callback. The promo itself was cool. Did feel like, oh, I'm being edgy, I'm breaking the fourth wall. Like, I know what he was referencing. But he's not Punk. Punk's promo was 1,000 times better and felt like an actual promo. Cena felt like he was rehearsing lines. But it was still good, and I enjoyed it for what it was. I showed you after the fact. What were your thoughts?
Cringy. Like, I thought it was cool in the beginning, like when he first...
and also Punk just laying there for 20 minutes was ridiculous.
Very, very cringy. Like, he's just laying there. He's like this. He's like...
He was taking a nap. He went to sleep. Punk, go to sleep.
Give us all a break.
Yes.
but also GTS. No, but I think they were also like mimicking the whole pipe bomb thing. Like it was going on for way too long. Like I think what would have been way better is if like less is more. Like of course he could say the first couple lines like, oh, as you lay there, whatever, blah blah blah, and then maybe sprinkle in like one or two, maybe three tiny reference lines to the original pipe bomb in throughout the rest of the promo. But he just kept like word for word reciting stuff, and it's like
He did change it, but it just what he said
Yes.
just wasn't really interesting. That's what I'm saying.
It exactly like it's his delivery, but also I know he like swapped out words and stuff, but he was just saying way too much. Like it sounded like he was trying to copy the promo. It was not sounding like, oh, I'm gonna go off and I'm gonna rant and I'm gonna do whatever I want. It just like, it's just not who he is. I guess maybe that's what it is. Like, I can't remember. Well, actually, that's a lie. I was gonna say I can't remember the last time I heard John Cena like spitting really good lines on the mic.
I mean, his promo burying Austin Theory, which was so damaging, was better than the promo we got on Friday.
Yeah, I mean that one, he wasn't spitting facts in my opinion, because that one just sucked. I was like, what are we doing? But he was good on the mic, but he just wasn't saying.
The delivery
stuff I agree
was
with.
much better.
Yes, it was very like.
The delivery on Friday was good, but it's just that he's just not, as a heel, he's just not authentic.
It was just so slow, though. He was like, oh, as you lay there and this and that. I'm like, oh my God, like, hurry up. I thought you were mad. If you're mad, you're going to talk faster. Like, he's just like trying to remember his lines or something. And then the whole thing of like Claudio Castagnoli, whatever, like, okay, that was cool. But then, like, why did we even bring that up? Like, okay.
Well, I think it was for what I mentioned.
But then again, like, Graham ended up telling me after the fact, like, oh, this is probably why he said this. Like, I just think that's stupid. Like, I want to listen to something. Like, when someone is ranting, I need to be satisfied. Like, when I'm hearing it. And CM Punk, for example, when he went off about, like, The Rock and Cena, what was this, after Mania or something?
You mean this year?
Yeah, what was it? He like
Yeah, it was after Punk.
Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, it was after
Yeah.
Cena went heel. Yeah.
Yeah, after Cena went heel, he like went off and he didn't say much, but like what he did say, I still remember. Like it was awesome. Like I was annoyed at The Rock. I was annoyed at John Cena to an extent, obviously. And like hearing him go off, I'm like, hell yeah. Like not that I want to agree with John Cena, but like he needs to like just go all out with it. Like either don't do it at all and stay in your little cookie cutter character like he likes to do, or just like don't, I don't know, like do it or don't be in the middle. And he's in the middle, and it's like really annoying.
It could have been better. I think I
could've.
enjoyed it. I do think it was great that he referenced back to Punk leaving with the title. Now he wants to leave with the title. That was clever. And I also thought it was a great way to hype the match at the pay-per-view. It got me more excited for the match than it was previously, and also falling right around the anniversary of the original promo. Also awesome. Just had a lot of room for improvement there, which was not really overly surprising of everything that we've seen from Cena as a heel so far. Hardly surprising. His last question here: AEW and WWE kicked ass this month with two great shows, one featuring CMLL and AEW, Grand Slam Mexico, and WWE for Worlds Collide. Overall, which one did you prefer more? Both were great shows. I actually enjoyed Worlds Collide more than Money in the Bank. And honestly, like, it could just be a circumstance thing, but I did enjoy the Dynamite Grand Slam Mexico show more than Worlds Collide. The Worlds Collide show, a lot of the matches, I mean, they felt random. I was going to say that wasn't really the case with the AEW one. It kind of was, though. They had a number of multi-man matches. I mean, what else is new in AEW? The matches were better overall. A little bit of better storyline support, a little bit more newsworthy than the WWE one. The WWE one was great. Circumstance-wise, I say that I might have enjoyed it because I actually fully paid attention to the AEW one and had a chance to really soak it in and enjoy it as it aired live or soon after it aired live. The Worlds Collide one I was trying to catch up on while I was in the fucking airport, and it was just kind of tough to really pay attention. Thought it was a very fun show, and the crowd was great. And you can't go wrong with either one. Of the show more, which one did I prefer? Grand Slam Mexico. I also thought that crowd was a little bit louder and hotter. But Worlds Collide was a lot of fun, too. No L from Facebook. Thoughts on the John Cena pipe bomb promo on SmackDown? We just talked about that. They also said, do you think Roxanne Perez will win King of the Ring? Another question I can't really answer because she fucking lost last night to Jade Cargill, so she evidently is not winning King of the Ring. I'll give my predictions for King of the Ring coming up this Thursday on WrestleRant Radio with Mr. Marceau. We'll have our full King and Queen of the Ring predictions for Night of Champions. At Iwagu91 asked, what do you think of Leon Slater's Swanton 450? I think it's cool. I think Leon Slater is very talented. You asked me about him last week, and I told you the same thing then. I think he's very talented. I look forward to seeing what he's going to do at Slammiversary against Moose for the X Division title. His next question, while we do know that John Cena is undergoing his retirement tour, Hiroshi Tanahashi is undergoing his as well. What are your thoughts on him? I think Tanahashi's great, obviously a legend. I've seen a number of his matches in AEW, in New Japan, the Wrestle Kingdom, stuff like that. Obviously, his knees are cooked now, and he's not the same remotely in the ring as he was years ago in his peak, in his prime. But he's still great, and I think Tanahashi's a legend. Obviously, a lot of classic matches with Okada specifically, but among other people as well. So Tanahashi is obviously a legend in his own right. His other question, with Carlito released and Liv Morgan out, how do you think the Judgment Day will fare now? Well, I mean, I miss Carlito, but to be fair, like his comedy was funny, but Carlito did not make or break the Judgment Day, so him not being there really doesn't make much of a difference. Liv Morgan being out really does suck for the group because she was the focal point of the Judgment Day since she joined them last year. I don't think they're going to fare too well. I think they might move forward. They can't wait until Morgan gets back to do the split with Balor and Dom. They have to fucking turn Balor on Dominic. They've been teasing it for such a long time. They can't drag it out even further until Liv comes back, because that might not be anytime soon. That could be months down the road. I mean, they're continuing the storyline by having Roxanne involved, and that will keep it somewhat interesting. But I don't think the group is going to be, obviously, even before Liv got hurt, it was not as interesting as it was even a year ago. But I think the group will be okay, but they are on their last legs for sure. And last question here from the scheduled questions, at millennialnoob_noob, that is, from Twitter. He asked, what matches do you want to see at SummerSlam this year? We might get John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. But I also think we might get Jade Cargill versus Naomi, based on what we saw on Raw, he asked. We might possibly get Asuka versus Io Sky. I believe that we're going to get an interesting card. So I agree with all of those, actually. Jade and Naomi, I wrote down Jade and Tiffany, but I could see Jade on the card regardless. Thank you. Asuka and Io, I do think we're getting. I do think we should. I think that match is going to be fucking awesome. You asked me before, could it happen at Evolution? It could, but bro, that's in fucking 2 weeks. Please do not do that. That would be way too soon. That would be awful. Io should be at Evolution. Asuka should be at Evolution. Facing each other on a whim would be dumb. Got to build that up more. Even though we have seen it before on SmackDown, I would still build it up more. And Cena and Rhodes is absolutely a lock. There's no doubt in my mind. So Asuka, Io, Cena, Cody, either Jade versus Naomi or Tiffany. I think we might get Balor and Dominic for the Intercontinental Championship. Gunther's got to face someone. God forbid he loses to fucking Goldberg. But I think Gunther defends against, I want to say Sami Zayn, even though Sami should have won King of the Ring, but he didn't. Whatever. I think they're still teasing that. Gunther, Sami. Seth Rollins and LA Knight is a sixth match I could see them doing. I thought they might do it in Night of Champions. They're not. Unless they start wearing a wig, we're not getting it at Evolution either. So we'll probably have to get it at SummerSlam. They could drag out the feud till then. And then last but not least, we just got a 4-way for the U.S. title, so probably not a 4-way, but Damian Priest, who has said that he wants the U.S. Championship on SmackDown, either him challenging Jacob Fatu, or if Fatu loses to Solo Sikoa on SmackDown or on Night of Champions this week, Solo Sikoa. So Priest challenging for the title in his backyard of New Jersey. He's from New York, but I think he's worked through various injuries to ensure that he's on SummerSlam and can compete near his hometown, near his home state, kind of the same audience crowd anyway, against either Fatu or Sikoa. If it was me, I'd go Fatu, but I could see them having Sikoa win the belt this weekend, and then Sikoa holding it and Fatu having to get it back. So either one of those matches. Are there any matches to your knowledge that you would like to see at SummerSlam, whether they make sense or not, or did the ones that we talked about and mentioned just kind of make sense? And honestly, I didn't write down Punk. I don't know what Punk does at SummerSlam. Same thing with Roman Reigns. I think Roman and Seth would make sense, but I feel like we might be getting Rollins and Knight instead. Rollins has a lot of enemies right now.
I think anything that Punk does, I'm always really excited to see. So anything Punk ends up doing, hopefully, fingers crossed that he actually does something.
I'd be surprised if he was left off SummerSlam.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like a pattern. I feel like they don't. I just feel like they've never valued him as much as he should be valued. I mean, he's one of the top stars now. But even now, like, I feel like there's stuff that he should have already done that they just haven't done with him yet.
I disagree. I mean, he was hurt for a while, but he was also involved in a lot of top-tier feuds. I mean, he
I know,
feuded
but
with
I
Drew
want
for
him
like
to win
a
a
year.
fucking Rumble.
Okay, but who won the Rumble this year?
Jay.
Okay, that made sense. The J1 made sense. And then at least it wasn't like, oh man, it's this guy for the millionth time. Like, the J1 was cool. I wanted to win the world title, but hopefully they'll get around to that. Hopefully it doesn't fucking go off on Target employees again or something.
I know,
like that.
that's what I'm saying. Like, let's get to it before he kind of gets himself in trouble.
Or gets hurt again or whatever.
Or gets hurt, yes. And has to, like, retire. Then it's like, okay, well,
sure, but at least
you guys played the fucking long game for no reason.
Yeah, but at least what he's doing in the meantime means something. The Rollins stuff was cool. The WrestleMania match was great. The Rollins feud never really was resolved.
I think if they do, in fact, do Seth versus LA Knight, I don't know. That could be. I'm excited for that. If they.
We will get that, but I just don't know if it's at SummerSlam.
Yeah, if they do it at SummerSlam, then yes, I'd be very excited for that. And then what you said, Cody and John Cena is at SummerSlam,
That's
right?
definitely happening.
Yeah. I won't say I'm excited for that, but
It's got to be better than the Mania match, and please no Travis Scott. I beg of you.
Yeah.
I beg of you. I can't hear Fiend again.
I think for that reason alone, I just want to see like how much better it's gonna be versus the Mania one, and the Mania one was just not good.
It was meh.
So yeah, I would say like anything with CM Punk, Rollins and Knight, and then Cena and Cody Rhodes.
I'm so dumb. I'm trying to be like, oh yeah. I mean, I wrote down 7 matches, but the ones that they mentioned and the ones that I pitched, I'm like, yeah, 7-match card, bro. It's a fucking 2-night card. I just remembered that.
Yeah.
God, I'm so cooked. They need to fill out 2 nights, so all of these matches should realistically be on the card. In years past, they would only want 7 matches. At SummerSlam, it would typically be 7 or 8. But it was a 1-night thing.
Yeah.
But now it's WrestleMania in the summer, so we got to have everyone make the show, and which is fine. If you have enough matches that make sense, that's okay.
But WrestleMania did just happen. I know it was 2 months ago at this point. That's not that long ago.
It's a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Because Mania is late this year and next year, and SummerSlam this year and last year and the year before are in fucking first weekend of August. Yeah. So it's barely 3 months.
I think
the pacing of all their shows, which I've talked about before, is terrible.
It is, and I feel like it's been terrible since I've been watching with you.
No, I mean there was a period where they were doing 1 a month, or they were doing none for 2-3 months. They had no pay-per-views between. So, actually, that's not really not even pay-per-views, but let's go back to Survivor Series for example. They had Survivor Series, and then Saturday Night's Main Event 2 weeks later. Nothing for a month, but they had another Saturday Night's Main Event in January, a month later, which was fucking dumb. The Rumble a week or 2 after that, which was stupid. And then the Chamber, and then nothing for 7 weeks. Mania, Backlash 3 weeks later. Money in the Bank 3 weeks later. Night of Champions 3 weeks later. All the NXT shows. Another Saturday Night's Main Event in May. Another one coming up in July. Evolution. I mean, it's just too much. And then these shows, when you try to build towards everything simultaneously, these shows then feel less special. And yeah, I've talked about it with RJ. He has an opposite mindset on it. Oh, if they're good shows, then I don't care. They're really not, though. That's the thing. They're good shows. I'm not complaining. They're not bad shows, but they're not great shows.
Exactly.
They're not special. They're not great shows. I'm like, oh, there's a fucking pay-per-view this weekend. Oh, God, here we go again. I'm looking forward to it, but they're not, the last real special show is probably Mania, but it's WrestleMania.
And I think there comes a time, even if it's decent, but that to me is not,
they're favoring quantity over quality.
Yeah, it's overexposure almost.
We're going back to the Vince mindset here.
Yeah, we're overexposing this entire company, all the superstars, just everything they're doing. Stop.
Yeah.
It's too much.
I agree. All right, so we finished the scheduled questions here. I'm going to backtrack a little bit in the chat, see what you guys are saying before we head on out of here. Grunt said, love the Iron Claw minus the removal. All right, I already read that, sorry. I already read the Alexis Tyreek account comment from Richie as well. Which wrestler should have a movie based on them? It's a great question. I mean, we've obviously seen so many. I'm trying to think of like dark sides of the ring that I think would be interesting. Like a Benoit movie, honestly, would be fucking like what's the happy ending there? Is there really one? I mean, not really.
Well, same with Iron Claw. There wasn't. I mean, there was. Like
There was more than the Benoit one. The Benoit one is just fucking like heinous, to be honest. I
But
mean, the
how
Iron,
many? But how many movies? Like, not every movie needs a happy ending.
I understand that, but the Benoit thing happens, and what happens in real life just happens. I mean, the dark side actually had more of a positive spin on it at the end with like the son reuniting with like the family friend or whatever, which was cool. Maybe you can incorporate that. I think the Benoit one would just be the most interesting. I don't know if it would be tasteless to do that. They would have to ask the people involved, but I don't know. I feel like that'd be interesting. There's plenty of them, but that would be the one that comes to mind. How can you put Wicked over Craven, Alexis? Richie said.
Shut up, Richie.
I know she's got her priorities out of whack. Johnny said, Alexis, who would you be picking, or who are you picking between Tony Storm and Mercedes Moné? That's not really a question.
Yeah, I know. It's for Tony's title, right?
Yes, only her title. That's
I mean, I don't want Sasha Banks to win. I don't like her. She's fucking annoying, but she's probably gonna win.
Yeah, I think Mercedes will win, but she fucking hates Mercedes. I don't really care for her either. I think she's great, but
she would have bullied me in high school if she had the chance. Let's just put it that way. That's why I don't like her. She seems like a bitch.
In the ring, she's great. As a personality, she's very unlikable.
Bitch.
Yeah, so she's not a Mercedes fan. So we're Team Tony here, although Mercedes will probably win. Born 2, be wild, Richie says. Favorite James Bond movie? Great question. Skyfall for me. Amazing. Honestly, one of my favorite movies, period. Made my top 25 on Letterboxd. The most recent one, No Time to Die, was also excellent.
That's my favorite. I love that. And I love how they put a nice bow on the end of the entire, whatever the actor's name is.
Daniel Craig, yeah.
The Daniel Craig story. Yeah.
No Time to Die was awesome. I like Skyfall more. Spectre I liked. Spectre was good. Skyfall was definitely better. The other two were better.
Skyfall's the one with our favorite villain, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that obviously that one is good too. That one's notoriously
That movie
great.
is amazing.
Yeah, that one's notoriously like really good.
That not Benedicto del Toro.
Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem, yes. Who also played the fucking he's done a lot of things, obviously. Old Country for No Men or whatever.
No Country for Old Men.
I mixed that up. He also played King Triton in Hercules, obviously. But he's
Zeus?
No, not Hercules.
Little Mermaid?
Little Mermaid. Yeah, that was him.
Oh.
Yeah.
In the live action?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, Skyfall for me. Quantum Solace was boring. I saw it when it came out, and I rewatched it a few years ago. Very boring. And then Casino Royale was also good. I know there's obviously plenty of other movies with the other actors, which are good, and I've seen a handful of them, but I prefer the Daniel Craig ones. He's my favorite Bond, personally. Grunt says, Paige Omega and Tony winning would be a god triple header of happy endings. It is all in. It's like their WrestleMania, so all three of them winning would be great. I don't think they are. I think Omega's winning. I don't think Tony's winning. I don't think Paige is winning. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's just how I see it going down. Christian did his best solo work in TNA. I agree. A Christian promo on Hulk Hogan would be great to see. Not talking about his dead father, but a whole lot of other shit. If he was honest, then sure. Emmanuel said, I read that Fightful was reporting FTR versus Cope and Christian was being delayed by Christian himself because he wants to keep the patriarchy going. Yes and no. I think he wants to keep it going because he wants more time to break up the patriarchy because they're still teasing tension, which they really should speed up by now. To break up the patriarchy and then also get him and Cope back on good terms storyline-wise would be way too fucking rushed, even for All In, even if they started in like May. So honestly, I agree with delaying it. You don't have to do it at All In. Do it in Toronto at All Out. Like in Canada, to get Christian and Edge back on the same team in fucking Canada in their home country would be incredible against FTR. So I actually am all for delaying it. Any thoughts on the Sabu situation? Captain asked. It was unfortunate. Rip Sabu. I don't know if there's any other thing that you're talking about, but I already talked about Sabu on WrestleRant Radio last month. So if you look up here on the channel, then we give her full thoughts on it then. If you were tasked to think of a PLE name, what would it be? Great question. I actually used to do a EFED, as they call it, and an imaginary wrestling promotion with my brother. So I try to come up with a lot of pay-per-view names myself. I did steal from WWE and I think I used Guilty as Charged. I used not Summer Slam. I used Summer Showdown. That's what I called it. Night of Champions I just outright stole. But I came up with a few ones I thought were good. I thought See No Evil was a great fucking pay-per-view name. Obviously, it's the name of, it's an expression, obviously. See no evil, hear no evil, whatever. But WWE also has a movie called See No Evil. But then again, you know what? They have a fucking faction in Judgment Day, and that was also the name of a pay-per-view, so who gives a shit? I think See No Evil would be a great name. Heroes Last Stand I used for one. That sounds like more of a name of a movie.
X-Men Last Stand?
I didn't use it for that reason, but maybe that was
right?
subconsciously.
Isn't that one?
The Last Stand
Is
X3, yeah. Crash and Bash I used as a name I thought was fine. And that's like Great American Bash. I'm trying to think. There were a few other ones. I think I used Fall Brawl, but that was a WCW name. I was really happy with, what did I just say? Not Summerfest. Not Summer Showdown. See No Evil, I think, is a fucking badass name. So I'd probably use that. But like I said, cheap plug, check out my WrestleRant ranks from yesterday, ranking the best and worst WWE PLE names. And some other pay-per-views as well. Do you like Heyman's new title, The Oracle? Yeah, that's apparently that was trademarked by WWE today or yesterday. Some people were thinking that's the name of Rollins' new group. It could be. Honestly, The Oracle itself, I love that name. I think that's cool. I think it works better as Heyman's name, or as Heyman's title, because he was what? The Advocate before, then the Wise Man, and now the Oracle. I think that's perfect. So the name of a group would be fine, but as Heyman's like nickname, I think it works even better. What is your favorite babyface versus babyface match of all time? I have no idea. There's so many. I mean, Punk was a heel at Money in the Bank 2011, but I guess you could say he was a babyface. But I guess probably that one, if we're being honest.
Was Ultimate Warrior?
Yeah, Warrior and Hogan is up there. I mean, that's one of the top ones, period. I'm just saying favorite. I don't know if it'd be my favorite, but that is one of the biggest matches. It was probably the first major babyface versus babyface match in WWE at WrestleMania 6.
What about The Rock and Cena?
Yeah, Rock and Cena, that's a great one. That's a great answer because I love that match. The first one. The second one's butt cheeks.
I'm just trying to think of matches, period.
Well, so am I. I'm trying to think, too.
Yeah.
There's been so many, it's hard to say. I don't know. All my favorites are kind of face and heel. Face and face. Cody Dustin? I don't know if it's my favorite, but they had an awesome match at Double or Nothing 2019. That was a fantastic match. Yeah, I'm sure there's more, but those are the few that come to mind, or that Alexis brought up. I feel like the patriarchy ran its course after the Luchasaurus angle had to be dropped, so if he's delaying a run with Copeland just to keep it going, I'll be annoyed. Hopefully it's just to wrap it up and not to just keep it going, because I agree with that. What is your hype level for Peacemaker Season 2? Very high. The first season was awesome. It was very funny. I'm looking forward to Season 2. Anything with James Gunn attached, I'm down.
Yes, me too.
Emmanuel said, the Slim Jim table kept Punk down. Johnny said, John Cena should have been rapping and brought back the Doctor persona during this heel run. No, he should not have. He's brought it back a few times already. Mania 35, 2012. He would just, as an almost 50-year-old man out there rapping like a goof, he would just sound like an idiot. So
The Thugonomics?
yeah, I mean, I love the Thugonomics thing, but as a full-on run, he would just sound fucking stupid. And he's just not the same rapper that he was even 20 years ago. So no to that. John Cena should end his run with a live performance of Raw of his entire rap album, Richie said. Might be more interesting than what he's doing now.
Definitely.
Are you looking forward to Spaceballs 2, Fernando said. I have not seen the first one, but I probably should have seen parts of the first one. I probably should watch it because I think Rick Moranis is hilarious. Johnny said, for Alexis, is CM Punk All Out 2022's rant your favorite?
No.
That's among my favorite because it's fucking funny.
I mean, yeah, it's funny. I was not a fan of him for a little bit after that. Go all out, as you say, says Grunt.
Yeah.
Stop.
Emmanuel said, I actually did like Cena playing into the crowd's cheers at the end of the pipe bomb. I didn't like that because he's supposed to be a heel, so it makes no sense. It does prove that the fans are hypocritical, I'll tell you that. Johnny said, do you want to see Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Will one last time at Forbidden Door? Not really. I have no interest in that at all. They could. I mean, but Hiroshi Tanahashi they're probably just better off putting him in a fucking 6-man. I don't know how good of a match Hiroshi Tanahashi's going to have on his own. With Will Ospreay, it should be great, but like I feel like there's better uses of Ospreay in England at Forbidden Door than on Hiroshi Tanahashi. But could be worse, I guess. He did wrestle Chris Jericho at All In a few years ago in England, which was kind of a waste of Ospreay, but whatever. Johnny said maybe Jade versus Naomi versus Bianca at SummerSlam for the women's title. I like that. Don't know what you do with Tiffany, but I do like that idea. If it comes down to that, and Naomi cashes in before then. Grunt said, kind of wild that we're getting the last Cena Punk match in the first Orton Rhodes match in Saudi of all places, since Cody's been back, he said. Yeah, because they really want to stack these Saudi shows, so can't say I'm surprised. Punk and Gunther at SummerSlam, Johnny says. Yeah, that would be cool. I like the match. It's fresh, but how do you go from Punk? Punk has not won a meaningful match in fucking 6 months. Brother, he lost the Rumble. He lost the Elimination Chamber. He lost to Seth Rollins inside of a steel cage on Raw. He lost at WrestleMania. He lost in the tag match at Saturday Night's Main Event. He failed to qualify for Money in the Bank. He's definitely losing this weekend. How the fuck would he earn an opportunity at the World Heavyweight Championship? That's what would need to make sense. Even the Cena one he didn't really earn, but they're making it make sense based on their history. But even that didn't really make sense. That kind of came out of nowhere too. Noob said Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss battle against Raquel and Roxanne for the women's tag titles. Oh, at SummerSlam? I could see that based on the story they're telling right now. I'd be okay with that. Noob said, let's see. I already answered that. Johnny said Roman, Jay, and Jimmy versus Seth Breaker and Reed. Tribal combat at SummerSlam. I like that, but I think Seth should be tied up with Knight. And I think where does Punk fit into that? So a 6-man tribal combat I don't really love. Just do War Games or I wouldn't do it. Grunt says wrestles in Saudi, gets left off SummerSlam. Oof, that would be rough for Punk. I don't think he gets left off SummerSlam. I'd be shocked. Alex Alberto G said Fiend. That's too many fiends, my friend. Grunt said, oh, please, Travis Scott, please. Now, fuck no, Grunt, all right? Oh, yeah, 2 nights, Punk is locked in for sure. Yeah, there's no way he's getting left off. Noob said, I don't want to hear Fiend on the show again. I already had enough hearing of that at the start of the year. I don't want to hear it again at SummerSlam. Me either, Noob. Me either. Daniel Malcolm is here, brother. He said, Woo! Daniel Malcolm, what's going on, my man? How you doing? As we wind down here, Richie said, 2 Benoit mentions and 1 stream is wild work.
He is my birthday twin, so.
It's true. And it's, like I said, it's also fitting because today's, not fitting, that's kind of a gross word to use, but this was the anniversary of when the Benoit incident happened today and yesterday.
Happy anniversary.
Okay, let's not go that far. It's going to get clipped and canceled. Richie said, we can have a movie on The Rock, but in the style of Young Rock. Oh, my God. Let's not say that we did. Yeah, David reuniting with his aunt-in-law, was nice. Yeah, whatever she was. That was a nice ending, Grunt said. Daniel said, you don't like Mercedes, Alexis? That was Graham's greatest interview. She was the sweetest, most wholesome, don't smell her own fart in the world. That's really funny.
She's so humble.
Yeah, she was not humble at all.
No.
Daniel, that's fucking funny. Emmanuel said about Luck and John Lasseter. Skydance hired him as head of animation after he left Disney. Some employees have come out and said Skydance claimed that they, in quotes, won't work closely with him, but it's been a lie. Well, they definitely work closely with him because that movie was basically a knockoff Pixar movie.
That's exactly what it was, and it was not good.
It was
dumb.
It was not great. Yeah, it was.
But
pretty...
obviously, John Lasseter didn't have anything to do with the writing.
In that case, sure.
In that case, but I feel like because I've done research before on the process of how Pixar makes movies, and it just didn't at all give me that vibe. I only got the vibe in the animation, which again was subpar.
Grunt said, if it's only delayed to All Out, then I'm fine with it, and I take everything back. Yeah, I know you're going to be there, Grunt, so I know you're happy about that, about the Cope and Christian reunion. Micah said, is there any current WWE superstars that you can ever see being on the level of The Rock in Hollywood, or is The Rock a special gem? The Rock is a special gem. No one has ever come close, aside from Cena and Batista, and even then, The Rock is just a much bigger star than either of them combined.
I think Roman in like 20 years could have a pretty good list of stuff, but again...
20 years? Roman's already like 38.
He is?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Rock was having success in Hollywood before Roman like where Roman is now. You know what I mean? Like Rock was having success in his early 30s. It's not impossible. Batista started late. He started pretty late, but he's not a box office draw. He's a great actor, much better actor than Rock. But as far as this sort of success, Rock's just in a level all of his own. He was a once-in-a-lifetime performer for both Hollywood and wrestling, which is pretty crazy, honestly. Richie said, when I said the second one is butt cheeks, Graham on The Rock versus Cena too. It's true. Tell me when I'm telling lies. Terrible match. Emmanuel said, technically, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, WrestleMania 25 and 26 is a babyface versus babyface match.
I was going to mention that.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I guess it would be Taker and Shawn.
I was going to mention that, but I thought maybe Undertaker was a heel. I don't remember.
No, they were both babyfaces.
Okay. I get credit for that. Give me credit.
Yeah, I guess, even though you didn't say it, but sure.
Well, I was thinking it.
All right, then you get credit for it. I'll go with the first one then, or the second one, either one. Grunt said Retribution would be a... Oh, God, don't say that. Retribution would be a decent pay-per-view name. We all know why it can't be. We all have PTSD from that. Full House would be great for AEW, but you'd have to make sure that you sell the arena. Otherwise, the memes pointing out the empty seats would be devastating.
I could see that for NXT.
I loved In Your House way more.
But,
Retribution is like a 90s name, and I don't know.
I like Halloween Havoc, too.
Retribution thing was another name I used for my EFED as well.
What's the...
Halloween Havoc is amazing. Halloween Havoc is probably one of my favorites of all time.
I like Halloween Havoc and New Year's Evil, and then what's the Valentine's Day one?
Vengeance Day?
No.
St. Valentine's Day Massacre?
No, I swear to God, there was another one. People were like, oh my God, they should name it this.
Vengeance Day is what they've used for Valentine's Day. Backlash is among my favorites. I think Backlash is just a great fucking name. Judgment Day, Armageddon, New Year's Revolution I love, Halloween Havoc. I mean, watch the video. I don't want to spoil it, but they're all in there. The other Valentine's Day one, I don't know what you're talking about. Love Hurts? I mean, that's the name of a movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
Use it, I don't know. What they have used, is those are the only two that come to mind. Full House I don't really like because I just can't think of anything else but the show. But, you know. They had another one. What did they use for the AEW house shows?
I like the gambling theme AEW does. Like Double or Nothing, I like that.
Yeah, they had it was Full House, On the House or something like that. It was something like that. Grunt can tell me. They had a couple house shows in years ago, but they used something like that as the brand name. It was like In Your House. It wasn't In Your House. It was like On the House or something. Maybe it was Full House, but that just sounds dumb to me.
But I thought that's what that is when you have a full set of cards or something.
I guess it is, but I just think of the show. I don't think that was the name of the house shows. I think it was On the House, but he can correct me. Daniel said HBK Brett Mania 12 face versus face. That is not among my top even 10 matches because I think that match is overrated. Good match, Iron Man match. They've had much better matches. Good match, but not among the best matches of all time at all. Coliseum Clash, Grunt said. I like that name. That reminds me of Samoa Joe's theme song name, but other than that, it's a great name.
Isn't that the exact name?
I think it is. Something like that, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Coliseum Clash.
I think it is, but it's a great name. It would have to take place in a Coliseum in Rome. Micah said, random question. Have you or Alexis ever been on a cruise? If not, would you ever go on it? The answer is no to her.
Absolutely no.
The answer for me would be maybe.
No.
If the circumstances were right, our friends Nick and Lindsay have been on plenty. They've been on a few Disney ones, and those sound cool to me. The Jericho cruise at one point sounded cool to me. She would never go on, so I'm not going to go on my own.
Nope.
So, I mean, I can go with someone else, but...
I'm afraid of the ocean.
You want to go with me, Micah? Are you inviting me somewhere? Yeah, no, she would never do it, which is fun.
Nope.
Corinne said Ospreay versus Goto for the IWGP Championship.
Words?
Let Ospreay have a proper run with it and then drop it at Wrestle Kingdom or Wrestle Dynasty. So you're saying Ospreay should be the IWGP champion? I guess, but would he have to pull double duty with New Japan? I don't really care about New Japan. New Japan has no buzz right now. So... I mean, that's not a bad idea, but just give Ospreay the fucking world title in AEW. How about that? Not in New Japan, which he's held before. That wouldn't be a bad thing, but I'd just much rather see him in AEW doing shit. I don't really care about him doing shit with New Japan. Plus, they already did that. They gave Jon Moxley the New Japan title a few years ago, and it meant almost nothing. It was cool, but he lost it within 2 months, and it wasn't all that memorable of a run. So who gives a shit? Malcolm said, Wrestling is lovingly so hokey at times because it's like, dude, Punk laying as uncomfortable as ever, or whatever the quote is. He couldn't just get up and whoop Cena's ass, he asked. Yes, that was fucking dumb.
Really goofy.
Yeah, I mean, just make it like the original Pipe Bomb where Punk's sitting in the ring. I mean, even with the original Pipe Bomb, why wouldn't Cena get up and go shut Punk up on the stage? But at least that made more sense than Cena sitting right fucking in front of him and Punk acting like he was sleeping.
But he was like...
From a simple table bump.
He was like, this is like, eyes are closed.
For 6 minutes! Johnny said, do you want to see MJF versus Jon Moxley 3? Not really at this point. And then Richie said, is it really LMAO Happy Anniversary with the Benoit stuff? I mean, I didn't mention him all those times because it's the anniversary, but I thought it was...
Oh my God.
I thought it was the worth. I'll get back. I'll get to it. Yes, I mentioned it
so bad
because it's fitting. Now, my other answers would stay the same when I mentioned Benoit. Daniel said, was in Miami this past weekend at a nightclub and they played Fiend. Didn't know what to do with myself. LMAO. Oh, yeah, Daniel was on the road when he was chatting in last Thursday. Hope you had a fun time, Daniel. I've never been to Miami. But if I heard Fiend in a fucking nightclub, I mean, it's a good song and grew on me over Mania, but it's like, bro, if I never hear it again for the rest of my life, I'll be content. Especially after that Mania main event and that finish, which was awful. Richie said Mercedes Moné and Logan Paul are the most humble people in the business.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, Richie, I agree.
Who's going to tell him?
Grunt said, the comment that you laughed at, happy anniversary to legit the worst 3 days of my life as a wrestling fan. Poor Grunt. He was a big Benoit fan, so
Aww.
He's Canadian. Console Grunt.
I keep forgetting that Benoit was Canadian because he had a house in Atlanta.
I think they build him. Well, he was from Edmonton, I think, Canada. But I always thought he was like from Georgia because they would bill him from Atlanta, Georgia. I don't remember, but yeah, he lived in the States.
Speaking of Benoit, I heard something on TikTok. I don't know if anyone else has heard about this, but there was a bodybuilder, like this really jacked female bodybuilder, and her husband, who I guess is also a bodybuilder, like was found dead in like their home or something, and she was also gone too, and people are like speculating it could be roid rage, and he could have had something to do with it, like he basically pulled a Chris Benoit. So I don't know.
He's relevant once more. Johnny said, are you going to watch Gen V Season 2 in September? Absolutely. The first season was excellent. The Boys is amazing. I'm looking forward.
V?
It's the spin-off of The Boys.
Oh.
It's a supplementary show that it connects to The Boys. It takes place in between the seasons. It's like The Penguin.
Is this different from Invincible?
Invincible is the animated show. They are different shows. Invincible is animated. The Boys is live action. They're
But
both superhero
They have
shows.
nothing to do with each other.
No, they're just both on. They're both on Prime Video.
Because I keep getting them mixed up with each other. Because I know you watch. These are things that he's watched that I have not watched. That I think you want to show me that are both like superhero.
Invincible. I would show you both. Of the two, I would rather watch The Boys. I think The Boys is a better show. They're both based on comics, and they're both kind of fucked up. They're both very fucked up. I like Invincible. The latter 2 seasons weren't as strong as the first season, but The Boys is consistently amazing.
Yeah.
That's just an excellent show. And Gen V as well. Gen V is about like the teenagers that are in college. It's about like superhero. It's basically Sky High.
Oh, okay.
But like fucked up. But not in like a unwatchable way. Daniel said, also just want to say I appreciate both of y'all. Graham and Alexis' life has been whooping my ass these last few months, but beating y'all in person and even in these live streams really are such bright spots. Oh, thank you for saying that, Daniel. That means a lot. I appreciate it.
That's so sweet.
You were also a big highlight of our weekend when we saw you in Vegas. And honestly, seeing you in these streams also brights up my day as well. So.
Yeah, you are so funny.
Plenty more I can say, my friend, just in general and not just about you, but the feeling is mutual. Let's put it that way. And I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much. That means a lot. But I hope you're doing well, and I hope you had a great time in Miami. I would love to hear more about the trip. Fernando said Roman is reported to star in the live-action Street Fighter. I know, I heard about that. Him and Jason Momoa. It's going to be like the Spider-Man meme. Daniel said Halloween Havoc is such a great name. I fucking love that name. I was so excited when they brought that back a few years ago.
The music, that's all we would play in the car.
The original WCW, not even like, they didn't use it for every installment. They used it for like only the first installment in like 87 or 88, but it's a great song. And I think they own the rights to it because it's a WCW song and they bought WCW. Richie said, no Great Balls of Fire mention. That's an incredible name. Oh, that name was awful. The show itself was fine, but that name was terrible. I remember we were all shitting on it back in the day. 2017. Johnny said, Will versus Brian, Will versus Swerve, and Swerve versus Brian were amazing babyface versus babyface matches. I agree. And also, honorable mention, Will versus Hangman. You didn't mention that one. That might be my favorite babyface versus babyface match in AEW. Ospreay versus Brian is another one, but definitely, and Swerve and Brian at All In last year was incredible. Maybe my favorite match of last year from AEW, and my favorite AEW pay-per-view main event, period. But Ospreay and Adam Page from Double or Nothing this year, fantastic match. Fernando said, agreed, Halloween Havoc is one of my faves. Emmanuel and Grunt corrected me. So it's called AEW House Rules. I love that name.
Oh, yeah, that's
Not
a cool
Full
name.
House. See, that's what they use for their house show.
House Rules.
their
That's
house shows.
cool.
House Rules, I love that name.
I love because that's that has to go with the casino theme,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
I love that. I think they have some pretty good stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I said. I think when Grunt asked me about it on hashtag a few weeks ago, they have some good stuff. I love Double or Nothing. All In, All Out, I never really liked. When they did the first All In, I liked that, but like they've kept it, and I'm like, I see why they kept it, but I'm not a big fan of I just don't love that. Full Gear is just weird. Revolution is good, but it's kind of basic. Wrestle Dynasty, I don't really love, but I know why they do it. Forbidden Door blooms kind of off the rose with that one. I think I don't love their pay-per-view names, but I think Double or Nothing is awesome.
I love that.
Yeah, that's an amazing name, especially with it being like the sequel to All In, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love All In way more than All Out. I don't really. The fact that they have both of them is pretty fucking confusing. So
It is confusing.
I would just get rid of All Out and call it All In, and just keep that one. Who's more likely to return to AEW from the wrestlers who left AEW went to go to WWE currently? Good question. I could see Andrade going back. I think he probably stays put. I know he just came back last year, but he's not being booked that much better. I could see him going back. Miro, no. Aleister Black, no. Cody, much further down the road, sure. For an appearance or something.
CM Punk.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Lexus King, maybe. I could see them, maybe he gets released from WWE and he goes back to AEW. I could totally see that.
Yeah,
Blair Davenport. Blair Davenport's a possibility. She might be the most likely, honestly. Ricky Saints, no. Jade, probably not. Blake Monroe, no. Maybe a lot later down the road. But I would say the first one would be either Lexus King or Andrade. Who was the other person that I mentioned? I went to WWE, not Ricky. I don't know who I said. Cody down the road.
Who's the one that's from Connecticut? Not Mercedes.
Yeah, Mercedes Martinez.
Yeah, what is she doing?
She hasn't been on the show in 2 years. I don't know. I think she's under contract there still, I think. I don't know. She's not been on even Ring of Honor in years.
So she's at AEW?
I think, yeah. She hasn't been on the show. I'm pretty sure she's still under contract, I think.
What the fuck is going on with her?
I don't know. She's also older, but still, they could use her.
They could.
Yeah. Blair Davenport or Lexus King or Andrade would probably be my answers. Blair Davenport being first and foremost, most likely. St. Valentine's Day Massacre was used once for Austin versus Vince.
I like that.
Well, no, that's why I said it. That was a pay-per-view once on Valentine's Day in '99. It was actually the same pay-per-view where Big Show debuted. They never used it again.
There's definitely, I feel like I said something or I saw something on Twitter that somebody was like, oh yeah, they should use this, and it's a really good name. But I don't remember it.
Yeah, I don't know. Johnny said AEW has done better hour-long matches than WWE, excluding the Royal Rumble. Yes. Yeah, I would say so. They've definitely done more hour-long matches than WWE in recent years. And they filled the time a little bit better, especially with that Iron Man match between Bryan and MJF. That was definitely one of AEW's best matches. Mikey said, I'm trying to save up for a cruise, but they just released this Netflix documentary on one where they lost power and they couldn't use the bathroom. Yeah, that would kind of scare me too, honestly. Bros trip on the Jericho cruise, Grunt said. Hell yeah, Grunt, let's do it. Richie said, New Japan has zero clout. They need the Rizzler to make appearances there. AJ and Big Justice.
Shut up.
Are they actually using the Rizzler in New Japan? Or are you just saying? Are you suggesting that, Richie?
I think he's just saying that to pop you.
They need a boom to their business. Mike has said 4-day cruise from Galveston. What is that, from Texas?
Galveston.
$1,700 for 2 people. I mean, that makes sense, right?
I only know that because I have a client Bless you. I have a client for work that is based in Galveston.
Okay, Texas?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if 1,700 for 2 people is a lot for a cruise because I've never been on one, so I don't...
But
it's a lot of money, but is that for a lot for a cruise? I
For
don't
4 days? I feel like that's so much.
know. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't do that, but that sounds fun, I guess. Get Bro to wrestle in the Tokyo Dome, 7 stars. Talking about AJ and Big Justice. Hell yeah. Get the Rizzler in the ring in New Japan. Just to kill time until All In London next year. Also, Ospreay is... what, next to Moxley? Is no Moxley, I think is what you meant to say. It's kind of hard to say, whole thing.
Yeah.
1 sec. Is not Moxley. Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's what Grunt said. Daniel said, we said this already, but Insurrection was a fantastic name. Also, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth was one of the greatest rosters they ever had. And when you play the storyline mode, it has one of my favorite music, or it has one of my favorite songs. I never played the game. My favorite games, I mean, I like the 2K games. Those have been fun in recent years, but No Mercy back in... I'll get to it soon enough, whatever it is. The No Mercy N64 game is incredible. That's my favorite. The Dig Diggity Dog song is incredible. So fucking catchy. In SVR 07, banger soundtrack. And 08, I like 08. The game itself is okay, but the soundtrack itself slaps. Fernando said, what is the dream anniversary vacation you would go on? We've answered this before. I've answered this before. I mean, you like Europe and stuff. I've been to Europe.
Iceland is my dream vacation. Iceland.
I don't really have one.
Or Paris, like the French countryside.
Yeah, I'm a domestic dude. I'm like in Chicago. I haven't been to in a few years, so maybe Chicago. But honestly, this is gonna sound dumb because it's not really a dream vacation because we've done it enough times. Disney World or Disneyland. That's literally it. I like going to Disney. I'm a basic bitch. Ooh, I want to see the stars. I want to see the world. I want to see fucking Mickey Mouse, okay?
Well, he's traveled so much, and he just doesn't like to travel anyway.
Especially out of the country.
I was going to say, let alone internationally. I've never been outside the country. And ever since I was little, I've always wanted to go to France. I've always wanted to go to Iceland.
Yeah, we can definitely go to those places. I'm just saying it's not my dream vacation is what I'm saying.
I would like to go to, like, the Swiss Alps, too, or Sweden, like just as a whole. I don't know. Like, I want to see, like, some really pretty landscapes and just take some pictures. Just bring a camera and take some really nice photos.
But Splash Mountain isn't pretty?
Shut up. Splash Mountain's not even a thing anymore.
No, it is. Down with Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Big fan of Song of the South.
Who's your favorite wrestler?
Hulk Hogan, brother. Johnny said, who would you want Julia to face at SummerSlam? I don't know. I mean, she's probably taking the title this Friday, so I don't know who she'd face at SummerSlam at such short notice. Rematch with Zelina? I don't really know. They'd probably do that at Evolution. Richie. Oh, God, Richie.
That's what I was laughing at.
So much for all Canadians being nice. Oh, yikes.
Richie!
Daniel said, actually, it was a horrible weekend. Glad I'm catching a GSM stream, not going to lie. Well, first of all, Daniel, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm sorry that it was a horrible weekend. Hopefully, we can make up for it. If you go to Vegas next year for Mania again, I will see you there. We will hang out there and make up for it in 9 months from now in Vegas.
Sending love to you, Daniel, and everyone else.
Maybe I won't go to Miami now because you said it was a horrible weekend. But hopefully your week improves. Mike has said, have you ever had any crazy moments traveling for a WWE show? Yeah, how much time do you have? Last weekend I was at a concert in HTX. I want to say that's Houston, Texas.
Probably.
I would think because he's from Texas. We parked my car in a separate area from the stadium for $20. Came back and 2 cars were on brick.
Do you know what that means?
Yeah, where they just fucking...
They took the tires. Yeah. Oh my God.
Never, Micah, park in a... And I'm like, oh, look, $20. It's cheap. Even I can tell you, bro. Don't do that. They might be nice enough to charge you so little and even offer to park your car for you. You may never see that car again.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll offer to keep the car for you, too.
Yeah.
For free.
Johnny said the bodybuilder husband killed her because she was in the process of divorcing him. Is that what you were talking about?
Yes. Oh, my God. I got to look into that more. Yeah.
Daniel said, Ayo.
It's so crazy, that story. Like, I saw the pictures online, and... Like, I'm waiting for I follow a few, like, true crime documentary people on YouTube, so I'm waiting to see a full-length thing on that.
And Micah continued, with no tires on the car, have you ever had any crazy experiences in a different city? Like I said, Micah, we don't have the time for that today. I will implore you to check out the eventual book written on said subject. Be sure to buy that book, and I'll tell you every single experience I've had in every single city I've ever had.
MetLife.
You would be stunned, my friend.
Yeah.
In almost every city, with every weekend I travel to, there is always something. It's never not interesting, let's put it that way.
Oh, duh. I'm forgetting the lady that got hit by a car and, died when we were in LA. So that's a crazy story.
Do not ask. We must end this stream.
Moving on.
Save it for the book. Daniel Malcolm said, Graham's Benoit jokes are hilarious. Love me some dark humor. Daniel, I'm just going to be honest with you. You're a real one. All of you here are real ones. The amount of Benoit jokes that are made between the two of us and other people that I know are endless. I am a awful person. I will not argue otherwise. I can't even begin to tell you the stuff that is joked about in group texts. All right, with Benoit, among other things. I'm not that bad of a person. I'm not Hulk Hogan. But you would look at me different. You would look at me different. You would all look at me differently.
I will say, Daniel, I know you had a bad weekend. As Chris Benoit would say, hang in there.
Benoit had a worse weekend. Are you watching Ironheart? Yes, Fernando. Yes, we are tonight. There's only 3 episodes. I do want to watch Ironheart, so there's only 3.
Okay.
It's 6 episodes. It's quick. Comes out tonight.
Wait.
I don't want to say it. Oh, whoa.
No, you do have to see that.
Whoa. You don't touch my computer screen.
Sorry.
I hate when you do that.
Hi, guys. Oh, Alexis is here. Please stop hating me.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
No, you know what?
She was on her laptop when she did that.
I'm
the king has returned, Tyreek.
Okay, here's the thing.
Tyreek.
That's crazy, Alexis.
How did you do that? How did you pull off Tyreek being here and on the chat? I didn't. What did you? When was I? What was it? Go ahead.
Tyreek, I know you're not here anymore because you have places to go. He's in on this joke. I guarantee you, it's somebody like Richie or somebody like.
What is Love Ziggler? Why did you say "Hear me out, bro" to RJ? Who are you talking about?
Burner account.
Hear me out, Tyreek.
Whose
what is Love
burner
Ziggler?
account is this? Because I know it's not mine. Because I'm not that smart. No, it's not. It's not.
It's not. I agree. It's not.
Stop! It's not. Who the fuck is this?
All right, let me go back to the chats.
I'm looking you up on Yellow Pages.
Let me go back.
Right, is that a thing or is it White Pages?
Whoa. Let's not be racist here. Richie said the Boys TV series is much better than the comics. The comics ended up becoming it was parodying. Yeah, I have no intention of reading the comics, but the show is amazing. Love the show. Johnny said they finished filming season 5 of The Boys, so now I'm patiently waiting for 8 to 9 months for it. Yeah, it comes out next year, but at least we have Gen V in the meantime, so that's good. Micah said last night and last summer when they premiered it was incredible. Like every week was a new episode, and it was amazing to follow. It was like almost every week was like, how the fuck did they top themselves from the week before? And I'm not just talking about in terms of quality. I'm talking about like they went there. They did, like the stuff they got away with was. Anyway, I can't even say. Micah said last night Cody Rhodes versus Jey Uso was a great babyface versus babyface match. It might be in my top 5. Oh, interesting. Thought it was a good match. Didn't think it was like life-changing, but yeah, it was a good match. Daniel said, Graham, stop lying to us. You know damn well the Summerfest is the greatest name of all. Word to Jeremy Piven. Although now reading his name, I want to call him Jeremy Pivot. Me too. Jeremy Pivot indeed. Yeah, the Summerfest was that whole thing is amazing. Lucha Bros Grunt said, I don't think Penta goes back to AEW. Why the fuck would he? Ray Phoenix, after how they let him go, I would be stunned. Maybe, but I don't think they go back. The first people to go back to AEW, I doubt it. I would be shocked. They probably also signed with WWE for quite a long time. And they've always wanted to be in WWE, so I don't see that happening. Johnny said Mercedes Martinez has been on AEW's bench. Yep. In the Ring of Honor bench, too, which is even worse.
That's crazy.
Captain said, will Nikita Lyons ever get a main roster call-up? At this point, probably not. It's like being held back in elementary school 4 times. It's like being 13, but you're still in 2nd grade. That's kind of like what her situation reminds me of. She's just not that good. Daniel said, if and when Britt Baker is free from AEW, Shackles, do you think it'll be a big splash? Also, NXT first and then main roster, question mark. Yes, I think it'll be a big splash. We've talked about this before. I mentioned this on WrestleRant Radio with RJ. And I know we said this recently. WWE doesn't need Britt Baker. All right? They honestly didn't even need Mariah May. But, like, she's a great addition. Mariah May is a bigger get than Britt, because I think Mariah May has a higher ceiling long-term. Britt is not as good. Like, even with Jade, she's obviously better than Jade, but Jade has a higher ceiling because she's just more of a star. Britt will be a big splash because she was, like, the face of that women's division in AEW before even Jade and Blake, before Mariah. So, of course, it will be a big splash. It's like the Lucha Bros. They were a big get because they were among the first signees to AEW. So, yes, I do think it'll be a splash. I would probably put her in AEW first. Or in AEW, and she already is in AEW. I'd put her in NXT first because, I don't know when we're talking about. She isn't free for another year or so. I don't know what NXT's women's division looks like then. But if Mariah May goes to NXT first, I would put Britt Baker in NXT first as well. I think she might be more of an asset there than Raw or SmackDown, in my opinion. Grunt said, wish we had more health updates on Luchasaurus and Keith Lee. Brother, I agree. Hopefully they're just doing well.
Keith Lee especially.
He just cryptically tweets, oh, yeah, I'm doing well. In due time, I'll be back. Like, bro, you've been gone for 2 years. At this point, I've just given up.
I just would retire at this point.
Japan or Amsterdam in autumn is my dream vacation. Oh, that's an interesting one.
Oh, Japan, too. That's a huge one. I really want to go to Japan.
Never been to Japan, but I've been to Amsterdam. It's a nice country.
My uncle lives near Amsterdam.
Mike has said before Tyrika, ignoring the Tyreek run, and Mike has said, Graham, have you hit all 50 states yet? I literally want to retire, buy a nice RV, and just go around state to state and live in that thing honestly. That's cool. No, I have not been to all 50 states. Far from it. I've been to a lot of them. Honestly, at this point, for wrestling purposes alone, I think it'd be cool to go to all of them. But, like, there's no wrestling in Hawaii, so I would just have to go to Hawaii. And in fucking Alaska, I have, like, no interest. But, like, I think that'd be cool to say that I've been to all 50 states. I've probably been to maybe, like, 15, I want to say. I would need a map in front of me, but let's think for a second. I've not been to all 50. Connecticut, Rhode Island, Mass, New York, and we're not talking just like flying in. I'm talking like being in the state. Texas, Nevada, California, Florida. I've
Chicago,
been to
Illinois.
Illinois. That's 9. Michigan. I've been to Detroit. So that's 10.
Ohio.
Indianapolis, Ohio. That's 12. Where else have we been in the country? That's 12.
You haven't, Nevada.
I said Nevada.
Oh, okay.
What other states are around us? Philadelphia or Pennsylvania.
Mass.
That's 13. I mentioned Mass. Pennsylvania. I've been to
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. I did not mention, but I've been to New Hampshire.
Okay.
Maine. I don't think I've been to Maine.
New York.
I don't know if I mentioned New York. If I didn't mention New York, that's 15.
I don't think you did.
I don't think I did either. And we were just there. I was just there like fucking 3 days ago. that's how cooked I am.
Have you been to New Orleans? No.
Nah, I haven't been to New Orleans. Not April. I won't be. I'll tell you that much. Not next April.
Annoying.
What's it? Texas. Oh, South Dakota. I've been to. Not the most exciting state.
No.
So that's at least 15. I won't go beyond that. I've definitely been to more than that. At least 1 or 2 more. But yeah, I've been to a lot of states. That can be a new episode of WrestleRant Ranks, Mike has said. What states that I've been to? Like ranking the states? That'd be cool. That's crazy, Alexis. Rip to her. I think talking about the story that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
24-hour stream? Fuck no, Richie. I'm starving. I gotta go soon. Very soon. Dark humor rocks. I agree, Fernando. Perner can. Alexis playing the long-term game to get Tyreek and Love Ziggler over. Smart girl. What is your favorite dark humor comedy? What is the definition of dark humor comedy? I don't know.
Like Rick and Morty?
If that's dark humor, then sure.
That is definitely dark humor.
Then yeah, I mean, if that's, it's a show, we're not talking movies. I would need some more examples of movies or shows. That's some smart booking. Needed that laugh, Alexis. Thank you. That's nice. It's like being left in elementary school 4 times. What a diss. I thought that was a pretty good diss. Can you see Private Party going to WWE? Yes, I
Yes,
can.
absolutely.
Definitely in NXT especially. I think they could use them. If they're not being used in AEW, then why the fuck not? To me, it feels like Britt Baker is Mercedes without the accolades or the people in her corner. Yeah, that's an interesting one, Daniel. I think I don't agree with that because Mercedes, I do not like Mercedes / Sasha Banks. She is objectively better in the ring than Britt Baker. I mean, yeah, she is Mercedes without the accolades and the people in her corner. True, but it's not as if. I mean, that's also not even true because Mercedes is better in the ring than Britt, and Britt is actually even better on the mic than Mercedes is. So they're actually not really all that similar at all. And then they had that bad match at All In last year. WWE would love to push a dentist, Johnny said. I'm sure they would, especially if it was fucking 1995. They could put her in an on-air relationship with Isaac Yankem, DDS. Micah said, scratch that. I just realized there's still some racist states. Not all states, so maybe not all states, but most of them I would like to visit. Yeah, I guess maybe the super racist states. Let's not go to. Let's leave those off the list. Last question for the stream, Grunt said. Do you have any early predictions or surprise entrants in either gauntlet match? Good point, or good question. Bryan Danielson would be cool, but he'd have to return to the ring, and I feel like him returning to the ring before he got revenge on Moxley would be weird, so probably not. Sting, no. Darby's a big one. I could see Darby winning the gauntlet and then being in the gauntlet and then winning the whole thing. Could totally see that. Nigel was my pick last year, and he ended up being in it, which was awesome. I would love to see Nigel in it again. The women's one, hopefully Jamie Hayter's back by then. Britt returning in the stream would be cool. And not in the stream, in the match would be cool. What other females are actually off television right now? Being in the gauntlet would be cool. Athena, same thing if she's not on the card otherwise. Daniel said, South Dakota, what the fuck were you there for? Long story there, Daniel. Old relationship. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, this was before Alexis.
Obviously. No, this is actually at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, this was pre-Alexis.
The dark days.
No lies detected. But, not a terrible state, but very unexciting. Let's put it that way. It's very random when you put it next to all the other states. Like, why would I go there for a wrestling show?
Yeah, very random.
But I did go there for a wrestling show. When I did go there, I went there twice. One of the times I was there, I did go to a wrestling show in Eugene. I met Eugene there because Eugene, I think, lives in South Dakota or is from there, which is very fucking random. Micah said, no, I mean ranking your worst experiences in the different states that you have visited. Oh, yeah, that's more than a video. That's a whole fucking podcast. Chris Faplander, I still love that name. That's such a grotesque name, but it's so funny.
Like, gross.
I think that's funny. We are used to it now, but do you think WrestleMania is objectively a good name? Yeah, I do. If you came up with it now, people would probably say it's like dumb, but
I think it's boring, but at the same time, it
makes sense.
It's fitting. You have to have like a generic name for the biggest show of the year.
Objectively, it's not like the best name, but no. I mean, it's not an objectively great name now. They have much better names. Halloween Havoc, there's much better names. But, I think it's a good name, but there's better names. Yeah, Richie said Chris Faplander is such a crazy name, LOL. It will never not make me pop. Like, that's so, out of pocket. Johnny said Shayna, Dakota, and Elena Black. I don't know what you're referring to. Like, people from the states, those states? Shayna's from the Dakotas. I don't know what Dakota and Elena Black have to do with, though. Grunt said, on second thought, let's not go to Alabama. It's a silly place. Yeah, I've never been to Alabama, I don't think. I've driven through it, but never I've actually been to Alabama.
Is there a gauntlet for the women?
Oh, yes.
Is that what they're talking
That's
about?
what he's referring to.
Yeah.
Actually, any of those would be cool. Dakota Kai, I could totally see. If her 30, 90, 60 day, whatever it is up, then Dakota Kai would be cool. Shayna would be nice. I don't know if AW would sign her, but Dakota Kai would be great. Elena Black would be cool. I don't know if they would sign her. Again, I don't know if they'd sign her, but as a one-off...
I think they would sign Shayna.
No, I was talking about Elena Black.
No, I know, but you said Shayna.
Yeah, before I don't know if they would. Dakota, I think, would honestly be the biggest get out of all three. I think she has the most to offer, honestly. Elena Black would also have a lot to offer, but I just feel like Dakota is much more polished out of the gate. Athena should win the gauntlet for real. I agree, Grunt. I'm just not getting my hopes up. I'd be shocked if she was even in it. Daniel said, clearly the dark days because Alexis is great. Oh, that's so nice.
Aww.
Was actually going to say, still laughing at her Benoit joke. Hey, you could write a book about those two.
You know what? I'm just going to tell you a little story, Daniel, to make you laugh again. Hopefully you do laugh at this. I just saw your comment, so I'm trying not to react to that. Okay, so I think this was like 2 years ago on the same, anniversary. I went to the gym and I worked out upper body. I did my back and I did the lat pull down machine. If you know, you know. That's all I'm going to say.
That's terrible. That's funny as hell, but it's terrible. Micah said, what are you going to do today after the podcast? Well, we're going on 3 hours and 17 minutes here, which is insane. Long show, but with a special guest, so it makes sense. But I got to get out of here and finish some other work and eat. The first thing I'm doing is eating. I'm fucking starving. But I got to do some other work and get some stuff done. Watch the main event of WrestleMania 20, Richie said. No, for Benoit winning. Benoit wins that one. Daniel said, but nah, brother, I need that story. Please don't leave me hanging. The South Dakota story, or is there what story are we referring to?
I think it's the South Dakota one.
Oh, that's a long story. that's a story we can't share here right now. I could share that story at some point. It's not inappropriate, but it's too long for today. That's its own video.
Okay, I didn't realize you were talking about that, Daniel. So when you said don't leave me hanging and I was talking about Chris Benoit. Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Because he left himself hanging in there. Okay.
Tony would sign Shayna to keep Marina happy and boost their tag team division. Well, they don't have a tag team division. They don't need a tag team division, but I could see that for sure. Marina's terrible, but Shayna I could see. Shayna and the Death Riders, if this was a year ago, then sure, but the Death Riders are fucking death. So hopefully not.
No pun intended.
Do you want Chris and the Death Riders? No, I don't. I know they're teasing that. I think that'd be terrible. The Death Riders suck. Keep Chris Statlander far away from that, please. Chris Fatlander, maybe. Chris Statlander, no. Richie, Triple H versus Shawn Michaels versus Redacted. That's the WrestleMania 20 main event. With Chris Benoit. He also said, I want Chris and the Fap Riders. That's funny. They just leaked the pay scale for the wrestlers from 06 through 06. I think you mean to say something else. John Cena was the highest paid talent, making $1.7 million a year. That's astonishingly low, honestly. Sorry, scratch that again. It was Undertaker at 1.8, then Cena in second, after that Shawn Michaels at 1 million. That is honestly extremely low. I thought the wrestlers weren't making much money now. That's crazy. But Cena and Taker and Shawn being the highest paid doesn't surprise me at all. Imagine what they're making now. We do know what they're making now. Some of it's been reported. Millions upon millions. Daniel said, Alexis, the way I just bursted out laughing. Probably the best note to end it on. This has been a lot of fun. Fernando said, is the watch along still happening on past PLEs? I would like to do it at some point. It's just more of a time commitment thing because I got to fucking sit down with you guys here and watch it. It's more of a mental capacity thing as well. So when I have the bandwidth to do it, 05 to 06 is what he meant, Micah said. When I have the opportunity to do it, I will definitely do it. Keep an eye out for those. I don't know if it will be members only or members only first and then everyone or everyone in general. I would like to do a watch along for past PLEs, but it's more of a timing thing. So at some point, that would be fun. Let me know what pay-per-view you would want me to watch. Honestly, there's a better chance of us doing a PLE watch along for a current pay-per-view that's going on like tomorrow or something. Not Night of Champions. But like at some point, there's a better chance of that happening than an old PLE. But the old PLE is still possible. Who's the highest paid in WWE currently? Got to be Roman, I'd imagine, if not like Punk or something. Wait, Graham, don't skip my back question. Wait, don't skip my back question to Alexis? Wait, Daniel said... my back question. Yeah, you'd have to elaborate.
The back machine? She worked out, so she didn't that stupid butt. Oh.
Wait, she worked out her back, so if she didn't do that stupid pose Raquel used to do, it did not happen? That's terrible.
What the fuck?
The Raquel back. Thank God she doesn't do that shit anymore. It was terrible. But yeah, I think that's about it, guys. If you have any more comments or questions, let me know as we wind down here. This is an extremely lengthy stream. I do not go this long every week. I go long, period. But you guys are so much fun to talk to. It's hard to leave you hanging. Anyway, shout out to our channel members, Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve 1, Daniel Malcolm, shout out to Daniel, RJ, John Ritland, Richie, Red Planet Wrestling on YouTube, and Average Grunt, some of which were here in the chat with us. If you want to join them and becoming a channel member, becoming an awesome channel member, you're awesome regardless. But if you want to support the channel like those fine folks do, you get a badge next to your name, unlock emojis in the live chats, get early access on certain videos, top billing on shows like this and WrestleRant Radio, shout out to the end and beginning of every live stream that we do. You can sign up for $5 a month. Support the channel, support myself, support us here at WrestleRant by joining with more information down below in the description box or clicking the join button at the top of this video if you're watching on PC. I don't think it's available on the phone. You can also just simply support by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and turning on notifications to be notified every single time we go live and every single time we upload new content here on the channel. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video, after we're done being live, of course, and I'll include your question in next week's edition. Thank you guys, as always, for joining us. This has been a blast. Last couple of comments here. Fernando said, how about SummerSlam? I'm probably going to SummerSlam. Alexis is not. So maybe you could stream it. I don't know. I might do a stream before SummerSlam in the hotel room, doing a random stream about God knows what, but at streaming SummerSlam itself, no. Another PLE, maybe. Maybe, Saturday night's main event or an Evolution or something. That would be fun. Probably not Night of Champions this week, and I have work to do after the show and during the show as well, so probably not this weekend. But at some point, that would be fun. Rock is on the board. Coachman reported $45 million a year, but I don't count that because he's not wrestling every week. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't count that either. Richie said, but that was Raquel's gimmick. Smile and flex your back. She was over, brother, he said to Daniel. Daniel said, I go long, period. Alexis, can you confirm? LOL. I go long, period. I'm confused.
What the fuck?
I go long, period, in quotes. I need I have bad jokes for days. Oh, I go long. Oh, my God. No comment. Oh!
Ah!
I just fell.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Daniel.
I see what he's saying. First of all, I am very, I'm immature, but I am also very, what's the word when you don't get a reference? I mean, you're more gullible than I am.
Naive?
Naive. Naive's, there we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Can you confirm? We will neither confirm or deny. We'll leave it at that. Micah said, last question. And also, I see the Love Ziggler in the V. I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? That's the worst part. Daniel, I'm like, what the fuck?
I was like that too. I was like, what?
I love the Love Ziggler and the Veer emojis. I did say that, Daniel. I forget what I say. Sometimes I say shit and I honestly completely forget. Keep it PG, Daniel. Micah said exactly. I agree. Let's see. Yeah, this stream sure was something, Grunt said. It always is. Micah said, if RJ can't make it Thursday, what's the plan for the Thursday show? Can we call in? At some point, I do want to go do call-ins. That is an option. This Thursday, probably not. This Thursday, RJ should be back with me. At some point on a show that he's not in, if you want to call in, we can set that up. I just did not know. I would honestly may have considered that even for last week. But he told me that he could make it like right before we were about to go live, so I kind of had to wait for it. Pivot. I had to pivot. So at some point, yes, we will do call-ins. That would be fun. Thanks for today's stream. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you. A call-in show would go hard. A call-in show would be fucking unhinged.
Yeah. I would do it.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. At some point, it would be fun. All-in stream, Grunt said. That's a possibility. Maybe I would consider that. I think that'd be fun. I just like to watch the show sometimes as opposed to like working during the shows or streaming during them.
That's not working. You're hanging out.
No, I have to be on camera and constantly be talking. I just want to just sit back and enjoy the show and not say anything. I do a lot of talking. I want to do less talking. But, maybe. Possibility. If there's interest, then there's a possibility. Like you said, there's kids watching. Indeed. Fernando said, Saturday Night Main Event sounds good. Let's watch Goldberg win together. Fuck you, Fernando.
Whoa.
Oh, God. Fuck you, Grunt. He said, Graham, too many cocks, Matthews. It's an inside thing. It's not an inside thing. It was a running joke with Grunt. I mispronounced something and said too many cocks. It's a meme. You don't get it. But guess what? It's Pride Month. If, you support that sort of thing, and I'm not saying I don't support it, but that's not something I'm into myself. I've said too much. We got to end here, okay? This stream is off. The stream is off the rails. Richard said the Bukaki Ghost, Abusika. If we had Abusika here, we could do the Bukaki Ghost. The Bukaki Ghost, Abusika from Salamonster. He sends in a super chat. He has his own.
Jesus Christ.
We're so off the rails here. It's only almost 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern, which is very late.
I'm almost like done with work.
But that being said, I'm saying it's still too early for this sort of stuff. The After Dark WrestleRant stream, maybe we could save it for that. But for today, it's too early. Kids are watching. Yeah, shout out Abu Sika. Exactly, Daniel. Anyway, folks, have an awesome one. Be sure to like the video, like I said, on your way out. I would greatly appreciate it. Pride flag from Richie. Support Pride.
Woo!
I agree, Richie.
Where's
agree.
the buy flag? We need a buy flag. I know they have.
I'm sure they do.
No, they don't. I think, right? Richie,
Or the
do
trans flag?
They have the trans flag and they have the
On
pride
YouTube, you're
flag.
saying?
Just in general.
Oh. Like as an emoji?
Yeah, like I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
they have a buy flag.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Alexis, any parting words? Before this goes any further off the rails?
Hang in there, guys.
Terrible.
I don't know what else to say. Like, what's a good pun for that? I don't know.
Maria said you and Alexis were awesome today. Thank you, Maria. We appreciate that.
Happy Pride Month!
I agree, Grunt. Happy Pride. Yes, Alexis will make the occasional run-in every now and again. And you'll see her again, I'm sure, very soon here on the stream. No pride flag. No buy flag.
I know,
she
that's
said.
bullshit.
That
yeah,
is pretty
bullshit.
lame.
Yep.
Thank you, Daniel. He said, thank you, everyone. Got me in such a greater mood. Hey, listen, Daniel.
Aw,
We tried.
good.
You got me in a better mood, as always. You guys never cease to do that. And, Daniel, you have my number. Give me a text. If you want to talk, if you got something going on, if you want to get something off your chest or rant about your weekend, I'm always a text away. Please hit me up. I'm always happy to provide an open ear. But nonetheless, brother, and everyone else here on the stream, thank you so much. Have an awesome one, folks. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll be back here on Thursday for WrestleRant Radio with a very different co-host. Not Alexis. That's Mr. Marceau. Until then, I'm Graham G. Matthews. For Alexis, we'll kick your ass down the road.